Volume 2, Chapter 6 of 3, The Dark Reaper. In the Keshik system, on the satellite of Araris, a mysterious shuttle arrived. This satellite had once fallen into the hands of Severance Tan and had been ravaged by a robotic army. Though swiftly reclaimed by the forces led by Shen Zhan, the damage inflicted was irreversible. The satellite's 5 Wookiee military bases lay in ruins, and its vast scientific research facilities had been decimated by the extractor's formidable power, rendering the planet dysfunctional. After Shen Zhan's forces departed, Araris was left defenseless. The Wookiees, having suffered significant losses, found themselves unable to dispatch further reinforcements to the moon. Their relentless engagement in warfare, which began a year prior to the Battle of Naboo, had stretched on for 6 years, severely straining their economy to the verge of collapse. It was likely their financial desperation that led them to reluctantly take on the extractor project, despite its apparent risks. Thus, when the shuttle landed on Araris, it went unnoticed or was simply disregarded. Count Dooku disembarked from the shuttle and instructed the dozen mercenaries accompanying him to unload a spherical device from the cargo hold. This device, a hollow sphere approximately 30 meters in diameter, began to hover and rotate slowly, emitting occasional flashes of purple light once activated. Count Dooku, using his force sensitivity, noticed a faint light being drawn from the mercenaries into the device. The process was gradual, leaving them unaware of their diminishing vitality, a phenomenon invisible to the ordinary eye. Dooku himself felt the device's pull, but quickly shielded himself from its effects. As the device continued to operate, it spared nothing in its vicinity. The lush greenery around it withered, and the purple light intensified. One of the mercenaries, feeling unsteady, realized the source of their weakening and confronted Dooku with armed resistance. Dooku, with a mere wave of his hand, repelled them with a force wave. Weakened, the mercenaries were unable to rise, their life force ebbing away until they collapsed, their bodies desiccating into mummified remains. Looking upon the now barren forest with a cruel smile, Count Dooku anticipated the fate of the nearby Wookiee settlements. Home to approximately 110,000 Wookiees, these settlements would serve as the initial source of energy for the Dark Reapers. The Force, inherent in every being and even in plants, varies in its accessibility. Those sensitive to the Force can harness its power, with their proficiency depending on their innate talent. The Dark Reaper's Force Harvester was designed to extract this vital force from living creatures, converting their life essence into energy. As the Force Harvester bathed in an increasingly intense purple glow, Count Dooku's expression turned exceedingly somber. Within the embrace of this formidable dark side force, the darkness within his heart was fully unleashed. The death of 110,000 civilians was of no consequence to him. If necessary, he was prepared to sacrifice even more lives, all in the pursuit of destroying the Republic. A fleeting thought crossed his mind, unbidden yet persistent. If he could also eliminate Darth Sidious, then the control of the galaxy would fall solely into his hands. After approximately 3 hours, when the Force Harvester had expanded its reach to its maximum and the inhabitants of the 3 Wookiee settlements were nearly all dead, Count Dooku deactivated the device. Using the Force, he closed the heavy shuttle door, stepped over the desiccated corpses of the mercenaries, and made his way back to his spaceship. On the Alaris moon, everything within a radius of more than 300 kilometers from where his spacecraft had landed was devoid of life. Life had been extinguished, plants had withered. Only the barren jungle and the silent settlements bore silent testimony to the once thriving life. Meanwhile, on the planet of Renval, Anakin Skywalker abruptly opened his eyes, stood up, and quickly walked outside. He found his master, Obi-Wan Kenobi, directing the soldiers in reorganizing the defenses of Bravo Base. Before Anakin could speak, Obi-Wan inquired, "Anakin, tell me, did Yuri Orlov take away the base's hyperspace communication and detection equipment?" "I sense it. The Dark Reapers have been activated," Anakin declared. Obi-Wan's initial response was cut short, but he continued, "You mean to say that the spirit of Jorma taught you how to detect the Dark Reaper? Anakin, I'm not sure we can trust this Jedi hero. How can you place your trust in someone who has been dead for over 4,000 years? Especially when Ulic Quildroma spent most of his life as a Sith Lord." It doesn't matter who Jorma was. I can feel it, the overwhelming darkness unleashed by the activation of the Dark Reaper. It drains the original force from living beings, and with it, their lives are extinguished. Count Dooku is committing a massacre. Anakin explained with grave seriousness, but our resources are currently limited. Obi-Wan frowned, the concern evident in his voice. The Republic's reinforcements are uncertain. We must act now. Count Dooku is on the moon of Alaris, Anakin exclaimed with urgency. That's an entire world teeming with life. We cannot allow Count Dooku to continue his atrocities. Obi-Wan finally conceded, nodding in agreement. You're right, Anakin. We leave at once. Simultaneously, on Dawn Planet aboard the Glory Mothership, Tang Xiao sensed the dark superweapons activation. A voice echoed in his ear, prompting a frown from Tang Xiao as the power of death surged within him. Suddenly, a phantom appeared before him, Lucien Dray. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, the Force Harvester, the energy collection component of the Dark Harvester. Vol 2, Chapter 604, the Uninitiated Mediation. What superweapon? Tang Xiao inquired, his brow furrowed in curiosity. When I was merely a child among the Jedi, around the age of 5, I overheard my mother discussing a discovery on the Yaoan 4 satellite. The Sith Empire had unearthed a superweapon from a hyperspace war that occurred a millennium ago. This weapon, belonging to the ancient Sith Empire, was activated by a Sith Lord named Exar Kun. However, he was ultimately defeated under the guidance of Ulic Kel Droma, Lucien Dray explained, adding, "This means the superweapon has a history spanning 5,000 years. Dark Reaper. Tang Xiao murmured, pondering the name before asking, is it the type of superweapon capable of absorbing the life force of others as its energy source? It's not beneficial for you to delve too deeply into such dark and forbidden knowledge, Lucien Dray cautioned. That's none of your concern. More importantly, why have you chosen to reside within Little Kleish's gauntlet? You remained silent when I called upon you before, but today you've sought me out due to the activation of the Dark Reaper. Why now? Tang Xiao posed the question nonchalantly, sitting back with his legs crossed. I can only continue to exist by drawing upon your strength, and at any moment you could choose to erase my existence. However, I have bestowed upon you all of my inheritance. Perhaps, in the future, I may serve as a teacher within the Twilight Covenant you've recently established. I believe I still have a role to play, Lucien Dray explained, emphasizing, most importantly, I can prevent you from descending further into darkness. Tang Xiao, uninterested in prolonging the discussion, pressed on. What's the current status of the Dark Reaper? It has been activated. With its activation, millions of beings will be annihilated, and potentially even more, Lucien Dray responded gravely. The Republic will not stand idly by, and Count Dooku lacks the resources to protect this superweapon, especially since the Son of Heaven has already turned his attention towards it. Tang Xiao reflected on the lore surrounding the Dark Reaper. I suppose you're right, Tang Xiao mused, intrigued. I never expected such advice to come from a Jedi Knight of 4,000 years past. As long as you refrain from using it for slaughter, this superweapon can still prove to be immensely useful. The inhabitants of the galaxy are my potential subjects. I have no intention of engaging in senseless slaughter, Tang Xiao stated calmly. However, without mass destruction, this weapon loses its purpose. That's only because you're not yet strong enough to confront the Dark Reaper directly. Once you reach that level of power, you'll understand its true value, Lucien Dray countered. Are you suggesting I court death? Once the Jedi Knights discover the power of the Dark Reaper, it won't just be the chosen one I'll have to worry about, Tang Xiao remarked. The choice is yours. The essence of the Dark Reaper lies in its energy source, the Force Reaper. It contains a core device. If you can secure it, you can use this core as the foundation to rebuild the Dark Reaper, Lucien Dray advised. Tang Xiao fell into contemplation, then abruptly waved his hand, severing the flow of death's power, causing Lucien Dray's apparition to vanish instantly. He then picked up the communicator and dialed a specific frequency. The projection of Severance Tan materialized before him. After Tang Xiao's intervention, she had returned to her formidable general's demeanor, her entire right arm now mechanized, adding to her intimidating presence. Update me on the situation on planet Christopher Sis, Tang Xiao commanded. Severance Tan, standing with her hands clasped behind her back, reported in a straightforward manner, "Everything is proceeding as planned. Christopher Sis is teetering on the brink of civil war. In fact, armed conflict between the factions has already commenced." Planet Christopher Sis, capital Chaladonia, July 10th. The city, constructed entirely of emerald green crystals, sprawled majestically. Tall crystal edifices were interconnected by wide passages that wove through the city like a web. With a population of 800 million, the city's brilliance was visible even from space. With the naked eye, it's known as the Crystal City for its breathtaking beauty. As the representative of a special mission dispatched by the Galactic Republic, Counselor Bel Organa of the Audran planet arrived at the Planetary Administration Hall in Crystal City. There, he met with Prime Minister Modis of Christopher Sis, a distinguished old man with gray hair and dark, tanned skin, a common trait among humans on this planet. His forehead and clothing were adorned with many expensive crystal decorations. Bel Organa surveyed the unimaginable luxury surrounding him with a frown before turning his attention to Prime Minister Modis. He bowed respectfully and said, "I am Bel Organa, the special envoy of the Republic, sent here to assist in resolving the disputes with the Croydons." Prime Minister Modis, seated on a throne of precious crystal, responded coldly, "I have no need for envoys. What I want is a fleet. Your Republic should capture those vulgar Croydon people and eliminate them. They've cost me tens of billions of credits. Curse them." Bel Organa replied with politeness, "The Republic approaches racial issues with great caution. If we can mediate and bring the Croydons back to the negotiating table, I believe that would yield the best outcome. There will be no negotiation. The moment they vandalized and looted our industries, any chance for dialogue ended. My army has begun to retaliate, but the sheer number of Croydons presents a significant challenge," Modis declared arrogantly. "We pay a substantial tax to the Republic every year. It's time for the Republic to act and send reinforcements to clean up this mess." The door to peace had been firmly shut by the Christopher Sith, who held a disdainful view of the Croydons and Rhodians on the planet, considering these races merely as their vassals. In contrast, the Rhodians appeared somewhat more astute, whereas the Croydons were dismissed as nothing more than brainless fools fit only for slavery. In Nava City, one of the largest cities on Christopher Sis, thousands of heavily armed Christopher Sith troops advanced towards a Croydon settlement. Their orders were clear: eradicate the Croydons before proceeding further. "Fire! Attack!" commanded the Christopher Sith commander. Boom! Explosions echoed as several tanks fired energy beams at buildings, causing them to shatter and fall like crystal raindrops. Under the cover of the tanks, the Christopher Sith army advanced, unleashing a barrage of fire. However, their offensive was quickly halted. A more intense burst of explosive energy came from the opposite side, instantly killing dozens of soldiers. Then, amid the sound of heavy footsteps, a group of cylindrical-bodied, 2.58-meter-tall combat robots, equipped with 4 machine guns, emerged. These were the LR-57 combat robots, a product of the retail industry's own research and development efforts, designed specifically for warfare. Volume 2, Chapter 605, The Battle of Christopher Sis, Part 1. The battlefield was suddenly overwhelmed by the appearance of hundreds of LR-57 combat robots. Their dual-mounted blaster cannons, affixed to each arm, unleashed a frenzied barrage of explosive energy that descended like a torrential downpour. The army of Christopher Sis, caught off guard by this onslaught, quickly fell into disarray. Some of the LR-57s had swapped their blaster cannons for rocket launchers, which, after a salvo of rockets, obliterated the few lightly armored tanks that Christopher Sis had, primarily used for policing, in an instant. Planet Christopher Sis, despite its wealth and the sizable army it had amassed, found its forces utterly ineffective against the robotic invaders. These armies, lacking in both training and proper equipment, stood no chance. It's worth noting that even clone soldiers, with a combat consciousness ingrained in every cell, suffered a casualty rate of at least 150 against these robots. The ordinary soldiers of Christopher Sis, facing such an adversary, found themselves at a severe disadvantage. Consider the nature of their enemy: robots devoid of feeling or fear, encased in metal, impervious to conventional weapons, and armed with heavier and more numerous guns. These robots, arranged in tight formations, advanced with relentless firepower. Who could possibly stand against them? The mere thought of being targeted by these robots, with their high precision and sophisticated fire control systems equipped with triple three-dimensional sensors, was enough to deter any form of resistance. Some soldiers, failing to find adequate cover, were struck down with lethal accuracy, their skulls pierced by the LR-57s. Faced with such a formidable foe, the superior numbers of the Christopher Sis army meant little. Their collapse was not a matter of capability, but of courage. Drawing a parallel with Earth's history, one could compare this to how cavalry, unless faced with well-armored and disciplined infantry, could easily break through enemy lines. Yet, the mere sight of a charging cavalry, a massive force capable of overwhelming speed and power, often caused infantry to break ranks before the battle even began, leading to a rout. However, history also shows that well-trained and disciplined infantry could repel such charges, as demonstrated by figures like Li Ling and the Swiss mercenaries. The situation worsened as the LR-57 robots appeared in nearly every Croydon settlement, breaking through the Christopher Sith Army's defenses and advancing towards the city's administrative center. But the gravest challenge was yet to come. The retail industry united in condemning Christopher Sis for alleged racial discrimination and genocide, accusing it of instigating a civil war. Claiming a duty to protect the lives and interests of the Croydon people and uphold justice, they supported the Croydon's unilateral declaration of allegiance to the Confederacy of Independent Systems, altering the nature of the conflict. On July 11th, a date of significant importance to the retail industry, the combined fleet of the industry, with the support of the Enterprise Alliance, launched a decisive assault on planet Christopher Sis. Beginning with 30 Higra-class battlecruisers, they swiftly dismantled the planet's outer orbital defenses in less than 10 hours, effectively blockading Christopher Sis. The arrival of 12 Lucre Hook-class battleships and the distinctive C-99979 transport ships, resembling dragonflies, marked the atmosphere of the planet, deploying an endless stream of B-1 battle droids. This time, in a concerted effort, in a bold move to attack the planet Christopher Sis, the Enterprise Alliance bolstered the retail sector by deploying an overwhelming force of 3 million B-1 battle droids, accompanied by a formidable array of combat machinery. This included the NRN-99 Persuader-class tank droids, OG-9 homing spider droids, DSD-1 dwarf spider droids, and a vast number of AAT armored assault tanks. The skies were dominated by the locust-like VE, Ultra Droid fighters, which swiftly decimated the planet's air force, securing air superiority with ruthless efficiency. Under this aerial cover, C-99979 landing craft boldly dropped the droid army approximately 400 kilometers from Crystal City, bypassing the air defense perimeter with ease. In a strategic move to sow confusion among the ranks of their adversaries, the retail sector appointed General Horm Loathsome, a Croydon, to lead the assault on Christopher Sis. General Loathsome was a seasoned commander, having demonstrated his tactical prowess by securing victories in numerous battles prior to this conflict. His recent commendation at a public award ceremony, stepping in for the injured Cypher Lance Tan, underscored his leadership qualities. His Croydon heritage was leveraged by the retail sector, which hoped to garner the support of the Croydon populace by placing one of their own in a position of command for the Battle of Christopher Sis. The conflict escalated rapidly. General Loathsome, while negotiating with Prime Minister Modis of Christopher Sis in the Crystal City Administration Office, attempted to persuade the Prime Minister to cease the armed suppression of the Croydons. Bel Organa, an advocate for peaceful resolution, watched in despair as the flames of war were kindled. The leaders of Christopher Sis, blinded by arrogance, and the Croydons, driven by cunning, had never truly considered a peaceful resolution. The arrival of the Confederation of Independent Systems fleet marked a significant escalation, transforming a civil unrest into a full-scale war between the Republic and the Confederation. Prime Minister Modis, previously haughty and dismissive, found himself in a dire situation. Reports from the front lines painted a grim picture. Cities had fallen, and the separatist droid army had advanced to within 400 kilometers of Crystal City. In a moment of panic, Modis clung to Bel Organa, pleading desperately, "Where's the army of the Republic? Where's the army of the Republic? Come and save us! The separatist droids are upon us." Bel Organa could only sigh inwardly. Just a day earlier, Modis had boldly dispatched troops to quell the Croydon uprising. Little did he realize that the retail sector's influence over the Croydons was limited mainly to those in the military. Yet, the arrogance displayed by Modis and the leadership of Christopher Sis had effectively alienated nearly 4 billion Croydons, pushing them into the arms of the Republic's adversaries. With the separatists arriving fully prepared and a droid army of 3 million at their disposal, the addition of 4 billion Croydons to their ranks posed a grave threat. The planet Christopher Sis stood on the brink of capture, a stark testament to the dangers of underestimating one's enemy and the catastrophic consequences of arrogance and misjudgment. Volume 2, Chapter 606, The Battle of Christopher Sis, 2. On July 12, 800 kilometers east of Crystal City, the transportation hub of Kimberly City on planet Christopher Heath, the sky was dominated by Vulture robot fighter planes. They flew in formation, diving down repeatedly to unleash a barrage of indiscriminate bombardment on their targets below. The forces of Christopher Sis had little choice but to seek refuge under bridges or behind the relative safety of solid buildings, cautiously peeking out to return fire. Meanwhile, on the city's main thoroughfare, the droid army of the Confederation of Independent Systems advanced with relentless determination. The AAT armored assault tanks, notable for their massive structure, slowly trudged forward. Equipped with a large-caliber turbo-laser cannon on each side of its frame and 6 rocket launchers on its chassis, these tanks advanced while unleashing a barrage of firepower. The robot army showed no mercy, opening fire on any sign of life within the buildings until nothing but rubble remained. Some brave soldiers of Christopher Sis, undeterred by the danger, attempted to approach and destroy the tanks. However, their efforts were thwarted by vigilant B-1 combat robots guarding the tanks, who would shoot anyone attempting to get close. Leading the charge were the formidable B-2 super combat robots and LR-57 combat droids, marching directly down the center of the road. The B-2s provided suppressive fire at the front, while the LR-57 supported from the rear. The droid army's strategy was straightforward: advance, fire, and eliminate any resistance. The battle reached its climax at a towering metal building over 2,000 meters tall in the city's center. The last of the Christopher Sis troops made a desperate stand, having already lost access to the elevators. They barricaded the stairs and fought valiantly against the robots ascending towards them. Despite their efforts, their resistance was ultimately in vain. After the last soldier fell, a Croydon named Worm Lortham, distinguished by his dark blue skin and squinted eyes, entered the control center. Worm Lortham, a renowned general in the Confederation of Independent Systems, wore a yellow uniform signifying his rise from a civilian officer to a general. In a confederacy where competent commanders were rare, Worm Lortham stood out as one of the few capable leaders. Clearing his throat with a dry cough, Worm Lortham spoke in a grating voice. "People of planet Christopher Sis, you are now hearing the voice of the Confederation of Independent Systems. This planet is now under our control, belonging to the Confederation of Independent Galaxies. The fact that you can hear this message means we have taken over the planet's communication center. The battle is nearing its end. Your leaders have abandoned you, fleeing for their lives and leaving you to face our formidable and ruthless army alone." He continued, "This planet is no longer part of the Galactic Republic. You are no longer bound by their laws. We will manage your planet's resources and fight for your independence and freedom. Please do not resist our efforts and remain vigilant against any retaliation from the Republic." As Prime Minister Modis of Christopher Sis watched Worm Lortham's triumphant declaration on the holographic screen, he frantically tried to contact the commanders of various war zones. However, the number of commanders he could reach dwindled, and the news was uniformly grim. Eventually, Modis collapsed to the ground, overwhelmed by despair, murmuring, "It's over, it's over." In that moment of despair, a reassuring hand was placed on his shoulder. Bel Organa's voice, heavy with resolve, reached him. We can't give up hope. The 35 billion people on planet Christopher Sis are still counting on us. Together, we can defeat the invaders. But Modis, consumed by frustration and defeat, pushed Bel Organa's hand away and shouted, It's all the fault of your republic. Why hasn't your army come to our aid? Where is your fleet? Woolen cloth? Bel Organa couldn't contain his frustration any longer. You were the one who rejected the Republic's offer to station troops here before. But Mordisi was beyond reasoning, continuing his tirade. All of you are fixated on the crystals of our planet, Christopher Sis. You're all after my wealth. To you, the Republic and the Separatists are cut from the same cloth, only interested in how much you can make us pay. Pay! Pay! Enough! Bel Organa raised his voice. We must now consolidate our defenses, focus our remaining forces on protecting the core city, and organize the evacuation of the residents. Then, we'll rally the citizens, form a militia, and do everything in our power to hold back the advance of the droid army. Wait for reinforcements from the Republic. He glanced at Mordisi, who was still seething with ineffectual anger, sighed, and added, I have 500 clone soldiers on a special mission. I will lead them to the eastern outskirts of Crystal City to delay the Separatist army's advance as much as possible. You should organize the next phase of our defense immediately. 3 days earlier, as the conflict on the planet Christopher Sis escalated, Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi, on the other side of the galaxy, had led a small contingent in pursuit of the Dark Reaper. Empowered by the teachings of Ulic Quil Zorma, Anakin could sense the energy of the Dark Reaper, a force as pervasive as darkness itself, constantly tempting him towards the abyss. Eventually, he traced the Dark Reaper to the planet Thule. Acting impulsively and against Obi-Wan Kenobi's advice, he led an assault on Civi, where Thule's planetary shield was located. However, his forces were defeated, and he found himself stranded and pursued by countless droids on the Shiwei satellite with no food or water. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan Kenobi sought assistance from the Republic and endeavored to rescue Anakin, knowing that without intervention, Anakin's fate was sealed. Yet, with their forces depleted, a direct assault on Shiwei was out of the question. Count Dooku had amassed a formidable army on Thule, poised to activate the Dark Reapers. In the underbelly of Coruscant, 476 floors below the surface, the streets teemed with sin. Spice smuggling, red light districts, and casinos were rife with illegal transactions. The dark alleys were occasionally navigated by staggering gamblers and inebriates, devoid of hope or concern for their futures. A drunkard, clutching a bottle of cheap liquor and singing, stumbled into an invisible barrier mid-stride, rebounding off it, but too intoxicated to understand what had happened. He simply got up, shook his head, and staggered off, unaware that the scenery around him had momentarily quivered before returning to normal. A mouse scurried from a corner, vanishing as it entered the anomalous space, only to reappear on the other side as if nothing had happened. Focus, sister. If the dream you gave me is incorrect, I can't create the right illusion, whispered a barely audible voice, seemingly belonging to a girl, yet no one was visible. That man smelled so awful, I had to push him away. Another girl's voice responded. Let's hurry. The master tasked us with investigating the spice smuggling, and we're to report back within 30 minutes. I've stabilized the dream again. All right, let's connect to the Governor General's communication and see what interesting tasks he has for us. Oh, sister, didn't you silence your voice? I was careless. With the girl's conversation concluded, silence enveloped the area once more, save for the fading footsteps of the drunken man. Chapter 607, Titan Security. In a vivid holographic projection, Yuri Orlov greeted Obi-Wan Kenobi with unexpected warmth. Oh, genius! It's been a while, he exclaimed, his eyes scanning over Obi-Wan's beard. I must say, the beard is quite a surprise. Obi-Wan's response was less than enthusiastic. I would have preferred to avoid this meeting if possible, he said, his tone cool. Yuri, undeterred by Obi-Wan's frostiness, continued with a chuckle. You once said you'd keep an eye on me, but look at me now. I've grown up. He struck a dramatic pose, laughing. I even introduce myself as arms dealer Santa now, offering a buy 10, get 1 free deal. No joke. Obi-Wan's expression hardened. You deserve punishment, by the law or the Force, he stated firmly. Shaking his head, Yuri countered, "You're seeing the world in black and white, genius. But for a galaxy with a population in the trillions, things are more complex. It's not as simple as the Jedi see it, and just like your apprentice sought me out, here you are as well." Obi-Wan's skepticism was evident. "How can I trust you? You're still working with the Separatists, aren't you?" Taking a deep drag from his cigar, Yuri replied, "Governor Wilhelm Tarkin is currently hammering the Confederacy with M15 Defender assault rifles and M41 twin-barrel anti-tank rockets on Agoma. He's also built a mechanized rapid reaction force equipped with Warthog off-road vehicles, all supplied by me. As an arms dealer, it's my business to supply weapons, regardless of the buyer." Obi-Wan was direct. "I need to attack the western satellite of Thule planet, but I lack the manpower. I need an army, along with weapons and equipment." Yuri smiled. "I'm an arms dealer, not a recruiter. And do you have the funds for this?" "The Jedi Order will cover the expenses," Obi-Wan assured. Yuri clapped his hands, amused. "A guarantee from a Jedi Master is much more reliable than your apprentice's promises, right? As for weapons, that's no issue. I have a stockpile from the Sorosub Company, including large-caliber grenades and armored vehicles. However, mercenaries are a different story. I can introduce you, but it's up to you to convince them." "Which mercenaries?" Obi-Wan asked, his patience thinning. "Titan security," Yuri revealed with a grin. Meanwhile, at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, Obi-Wan Kenobi was reporting to the Jedi Council via holographic projection, amidst the backdrop of gunfire and explosions. "I'm certain Count Dooku has activated an ancient Sith superweapon on Thule. We need to send reinforcements immediately." Master Yoda, deep in thought, finally spoke. "The dark power is palpable, yet its source remains hidden." Master Windu expressed his concern. "The Force's disturbance clouds our vision of the future. However, we must act. An ancient Sith weapon could wreak untold havoc." Jedi Master Pro Kong, joining remotely, added, "Thule is beyond our reach. The Separatists have blocked key hyperspace lanes, preventing our main fleet from getting there." Depa Balaba suggested, "Smaller fleets might navigate the lesser-known hyperlanes, but we'd be at a disadvantage against the enemy's superior forces." Master Yoda, determined, declared, "Then we must strike again." Master Windu nodded in agreement. "If that's the case, I wish to join the battle, along with my 2 apprentices." Depa Balaba expressed her concern, stating, "They have essentially completed their training and are in dire need of more experience." Master Yoda agreed, nodding thoughtfully. "Adequate protection is necessary, Sister Luna. Join us in our strike. You must." In the Thule galaxy, within the Western Dimension, a formidable force was making its presence known. Under the escort of more than a dozen Vengeance-class light destroyers and Iron Fang Hammerhead-class cruisers, 3 Black Home-class modified aircraft carriers initiated a forced landing operation on the Western satellite. Dozens of Black Phantom fighters unleashed a barrage of indiscriminate bombardment upon the ground, while the Kree, scent-shaped Higra stealth fighters, patrolled the skies, ensuring dominance. The Kali warriors, clad in black combat uniforms and armed to the teeth, disembarked from the transport planes with unmatched ferocity, charging towards their target. Each warrior was equipped with an M15 Defender assault rifle, a sniper rifle, and a menacing Kali-style long knife strapped to their backs. Their cloaks and hoods gave them an almost ghostly presence on the battlefield. Unlike the clone troopers, who engaged in direct squad-based combat, the Kali mercenaries employed guerrilla tactics. Yet their effectiveness was undeniable. They launched attacks from nearly every direction, overwhelming the robotic armies of the Confederation of Independent Systems, which could only react in a chaotic and disorganized manner. The Kali forces were led by General Hakimi and Mila Han, who commanded the aerial units. Under their protection, Obi-Wan Kenobi managed to pilot a Delta-7 fighter jet into the base of the planetary shield on the moon Shiwei, discovering that Anakin Skywalker was attempting to destroy it single-handedly. Their mission was a success. With the planetary shield generator on the Shiwei satellite destroyed, the planet Thule was left vulnerable. The following day, Master Yoda and Master Windu led a force to the Thule system, assembling first on the western satellite. "These are Kali?" Master Windu inquired, observing the Titan security mercenaries organizing the spoils of war. Yes, Master Windu. Anakin was trapped here while attempting to destroy the planetary shield generator. I had no choice but to enlist a team of mercenaries from Titan Security for assistance, Obi-Wan explained, somewhat apologetically. They have ties to separatist factions, specifically the Fourth Group. This was a misguided decision, Obi-Wan, Master Windu responded, his expression turning stern. I was compelled to act, especially after receiving news that Count Dooku had used the Dark Reaper to massacre nearly 100,000 residents on the Araris satellite. The situation was critical. Obi-Wan defended his actions. It appears we have achieved positive results. However, we must unite more forces against the threat of separatism, Master Yoda observed. Continue the attack on Thule and maintain our alliance with the mercenaries. With Master Yoda's words, Master Windu had no further objections. He simply nodded and declared, "Prepare for battle. In 1 hour, we will officially land on planet Thule." Giant God Security had dispatched 2,000 Kali warriors and 2,000 human warriors. Among these human soldiers, unbeknownst to anyone, lurked a distinct presence, Darth Marthael. For those following the saga of Star Wars: The Fourth Calamity, stay tuned for more chapters and delve deeper into this epic narrative. Remember to bookmark this page for easy access in the future. And if you're enjoying the story, consider sharing it with friends through social media or other platforms. Your support is greatly appreciated. Vol 2, Chapter 608, The Little Dark Child. Master Windu, leading the charge with 3 Acclamator-class assault landing ships, initiated a landing operation on the planet Thule. Their swift approach caught Count Dooku completely off guard. Dooku was baffled by the Republic's rapid response. He had only deployed the Dark Reaper on the Aralis satellite once, causing relatively minor damage and resulting in fewer than 100,000 casualties. To Dooku, now fully ensnared by the dark side and embodying the essence of a Sith Lord, the loss of 100,000 lives was merely a statistic. In Kesiak, the capital of Thule, stood an altar from the ancient Sith Empire, designed to maximize the Dark Reaper's potential. The Dark Reaper's design was notably versatile. Once its main body was assembled, one only needed to roam with the Force Harvester, draining the Force from individuals. After accumulating sufficient power, the Force Harvester could be reattached to the main body to activate the weapon. However, Dooku found himself pressed for time and without the luxury of calling for reinforcements. The fleets of the Confederation of Independent Systems were engaged in battles across various fronts against the Republic, leaving no room for immediate support. Master Windu, alongside Jedi Masters such as Depa Billaba and Obi-Wan Kenobi, spearheaded an aerial assault. Their Delta 7 Ether Sprite-class light interceptors made short work of the Confederacy's Vulture droids, which proved no match against the Jedi's prowess. This formidable airstrike rendered the Force Harvester inoperative and led to the destruction of Thule's communication and energy centers. Dooku was forced to rally nearly all the droid armies available in Kesiak, a city fortified with shield generators and solid alloy walls, rendering it nearly impregnable. General Grievous was in the process of mobilizing reinforcements, and Dooku's strategy hinged on delaying the Republic forces as long as possible. He hoped that the arrival of additional forces from other parts of the planet or returning from other systems would turn the tide against the Republic's clone troopers. However, Master Windu was determined not to afford him this opportunity. Master Yoda commanded a Venator-class Star Destroyer in orbit around Thule, while Windu, accompanied by Jedi Masters such as Obi-Wan Kenobi, Depa Billaba, and Luminara Unduli, launched a full-scale assault on Kesiak. Soon after, Anakin Skywalker arrived with reinforcements from the Western Satellite. Under General Hakimi's leadership, the Kali mercenaries flanked Count Dooku's defensive lines. Despite their reluctance to fully commit to the battle, given their cautious nature as mercenaries and their deep-seated hatred for the Republic and the Jedi, their involvement still posed a significant threat to Dooku's forces. Despite the formidable defense mounted by Dooku, his forces were gradually pushed back by the elite Jedi assault. Dooku remained within the command center, opting not to confront the Jedi led by Master Windu directly. Amidst the chaos, Darth Malthael, blending in with the Titan security forces, advanced with the troops, obliterating dozens of B-1 battle droids with precise shots. Glancing skyward, he noticed thousands of Delta-7 interceptors streaking across the sky at high speed, a smirk playing on his lips. This spectacle was an illusion crafted by the twin sisters Luna Meng and Luna Han, designed to city. Due to the existence of these illusions, the air defense systems in Kesiak City were rendered ineffective, with at least 80% of the anti-aircraft firepower mistakenly targeting the illusions. However, such grand-scale illusions, while capable of deceiving electronic equipment, could not escape detection by the Force. Darth Malthel, with his acute sensitivity to the Force, could easily discern the reality from the illusion. This ability was the first gift he bestowed upon Luna Meng and Luna Fan. Indeed, the Dream Sisters reached out to him shortly after their induction into the Jedi Order, expressing a desire to maintain their allegiance to the Fourth Civilization without succumbing to the dark side. Their disdain for the Jedi Order was profound and immediate, stemming from a deep-seated aversion that took root from their very first day. This animosity was intertwined with the foundational ethos of the Fourth Civilization, which had preserved 5 billion embryos in a state of induced hibernation. As some of the first naturally born individuals in a then nascent civilization, the Dream Sisters were initially embraced without reservation. However, as the civilization expanded, the practicality of continuing such a tradition waned, though by then, the collective unity of the civilization no longer hinged on such practices. Darth Malthale speculated that the sisters' aversion to the Jedi Order might not solely be a result of their upbringing, but could also be linked to their unique Force abilities. He looked up to the sky, observing thousands of Delta-7 fighter jets streaking past at high velocity. A smirk played at the corner of his mouth, knowing well that this spectacle was an illusion crafted by Luna Meng and Luna Fan. The effectiveness of Kesiak City's air defenses was compromised, as the majority of their firepower was wasted on these phantoms. Yet, to someone attuned to the Force like Darth Malthale, distinguishing between illusion and reality was second nature. The Dream Sisters' contact with Darth Malthale after joining the Jedi Order was driven by a simple yet profound reason: their deep-seated hatred for the Order. From their very first day, they felt a visceral loathing for the institution, a sentiment that was both immediate and enduring. Their background, as part of the first generation born naturally within the Fourth Civilization, played a significant role in shaping their perspectives. Initially, the small scale of the civilization allowed for a certain level of intimacy and acceptance, but as it grew, such practices became unsustainable. Nevertheless, by that point, the civilization's cohesion was no longer dependent on these early traditions. Darth Malthale considered that the sisters' disdain for the Jedi Order might not be entirely due to their conditioning or the cultural implications of their origins. Instead, he suspected that their unique abilities within the Force might also play a crucial role in their feelings of alienation and opposition. Vol 2, Chapter 609, Meeting with the Sith. Darth Malthale moved swiftly through the city of Kesiak, his path intersecting with a multitude of robots advancing towards the front line. The sounds of explosions were a constant backdrop. The skies, once filled with vulture robot fighters, now saw a dwindling number as they struggled to take off and engage. Gazing in the direction Darth Malthale was headed, one could observe several groups of formidable light-side forces dominating the skies. Among them were Master Windu, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and a few other Jedi Masters. Unlike the Sith, they wielded their power openly, showcasing the Force's terrifying destructive capabilities against the lifeless robots without any reservations. With two massive explosions, the fighter hangars on both the north and south sides of Kesiak City were obliterated, granting the Jedi Knights complete air supremacy. Suddenly, the sky was bathed in a purple glow, emanating upwards and soon enveloping the city's atmosphere. Darth Malthale's heart stirred. It was evident that Count Dooku had finally reactivated the Dark Reaper. Although it had absorbed only about 100,000 Force energies, a quantity insufficient to threaten the planet, it could easily incapacitate several Republic battleships in orbit. The greater menace, however, was the Force Harvester. As the purple light spread, Darth Marthael felt the force within him begin to seep away gradually. He frowned, employing the force knowledge imparted to him by Lucien Dre, and managed to stem the flow. However, the soldiers outside were not as fortunate. Each one began to emit a faint purple glow, their physical energy visibly draining away. This phenomenon did not affect the robots, indicating that the Dark Reaper not only possessed formidable destructive power, but also complemented the robot army, making it an almost invincible combination on the battlefield. Noticing the anomaly, Master Windu promptly ordered all troops to halt their advance and adopt defensive positions. He then led the Jedi Knights in a decisive charge towards the Dark Reaper. Darth Marthael, meanwhile, had reached the Sith altar housing the Dark Reaper. The device, saucer-shaped and approximately 100 meters in diameter, resembled a large flying saucer. At that moment, it was emitting a purple light that pierced the sky before dispersing. "I'm curious, who approaches with the authority of a tactical commander?" Count Dooku's voice was calm as he stood before the Dark Reaper's console. He removed his elegant cloak and unclasped his unique, curved lightsaber from his waist. The blood-red blade ignited instantly, but he held it casually, turning to face the newcomer with a relaxed demeanor. "It seems a friend has arrived. You are the enigmatic Sith Lord. I would be honored to know your title." "You're not entitled to know my title, Darth Tyrannus," Darth Marthael responded, stepping forward without drawing his lightsaber. "Your master, Darth Sidious, is my senior brother, and you should address me as Uncle. Do you understand, Junior?" Count Dooku's expression turned cold, and with a flick of his wrist, a piece of metal railing nearby was ripped from its place and hurled towards Darth Marthael like a bolt of lightning. Mid-air, the metal's tip twisted and sharpened, transforming into a spike gleaming with lethal intent. In the brief distance of a dozen meters, the metal spike shattered the sound barrier, propelled by a sonic boom. Almost simultaneously, the spike was deflected by an invisible force mere meters from Darth Marthael, who remained motionless. Count Dooku's demeanor shifted to one of seriousness as he scrutinized the man before him. Darth Marthael stood there, clad in black, an imposing figure who clearly demanded respect. Enshrouded in a cloak, the figure's face was obscured by a hood, veiled by a mysterious force that rendered his appearance, age, voice, and even height indiscernible. "Since we both wield the power of the dark side, why not cast aside your disguise and engage in an open conversation?" Count Dooku proposed, his voice resonating with a deep timbre. "You are not yet prepared to confront me, Darth Tyrannus. However, I cannot stand idly by as you tread a path to your own demise. I am here to offer my assistance," the cloaked figure, identifying himself as Darth Marthael, responded. "You may refer to me as the Angel of Death." A shadow fell over Count Dooku's face. "So you are the Master Tang Xiao spoke of, the one who transformed that Twi'lek Jedi Knight into a Sith apprentice? In a galaxy with so few Sith, who else could it be?" Darth Marthael retorted with a sneer. "Let us then converse as you suggest. Given that you are Darth Sidious's junior brother, I believe we share much in common. My respects, Sith Lord." Count Dooku, with a hand on his chest, bowed deeply to Marthael. However, his other hand remained firmly gripped on his lightsaber, ready for any eventuality. Darth Marthael maintained a cautious distance, circling the Dark Reaper without drawing any closer. Count Dooku, respecting this space, followed about 5 meters behind, a distance he deemed relatively safe. The Dark Reaper, a formidable weapon indeed. After a decade of study, you should have grasped the essence of the Sith way. If you still pin your hopes on others to achieve your ideals, then you are beyond salvation, Darth Marthael remarked. "Have you come in person just to convey this message?" Count Dooku inquired. "I've come to save you," Darth Marthael stated, before his form dissipated into a cloud of smoke, vanishing without a trace. Though Count Dooku sensed his presence nearby, his attention was quickly diverted by the approach of 2 hoverbikes, from which Master Windu and Anakin Skywalker leaped off. Upon dismounting, Master Windu cautioned Anakin in a hushed tone, "Be vigilant. Count Dooku is a formidable opponent, and the Dark Reaper's influence has weakened us all. You possess the only weapon capable of turning the tide. I will engage Dooku." "The moment the Dark Reaper is activated, your defeat is inevitable," Count Dooku declared, stepping forward with his blood-red lightsaber angled towards the ground. adopting the stance of the second form, Makashi. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, The Ancient Sith Altar in the City of Kesiak. Chapter 610, The Genius of the Jedi. In the midst of a fierce battle, Count Dooku and Master Windu, once hailed as the finest swordsmen within the Jedi Order, clashed with unparalleled skill. Their duel, a spectacle of the second and seventh forms of lightsaber combat, captivated onlookers with its elegance and mastery. Meanwhile, Darth Malthael lurked in the shadows, his presence concealed by the Force, as he observed the unfolding chaos with keen interest. Anakin Skywalker, under Master Windu's protection, embarked on a critical mission to dismantle a superweapon, guided by the knowledge imparted by Ulic Quil Dorma. His task was to locate and destroy the energy nodes of the Dark Reaper, a challenge that required him to mentally connect with the sinister device. This perilous endeavor exposed Anakin to the corrupting influence of the dark side, threatening to erode the spirit of the Chosen One. Darth Malthael, however, remained a silent observer, choosing not to intervene. Despite recognizing that Master Windu might benefit from his assistance, he was not inclined to reveal his position. Malthael understood the dynamics of alliances and enmities. He knew that being the enemy of one's enemy could forge temporary alliances, a principle applicable to both the Jedi Order and Darth Sidious. His neutrality was his greatest asset, allowing him to navigate the complex web of galactic politics without committing to any side. As the situation grew increasingly dire, more Jedi Masters rushed to the scene, driven by the urgency of the moment. The clone soldiers, already weakened by the Dark Reaper's force-draining powers, faced imminent annihilation. Meanwhile, the mercenary group from Giant God Security, having successfully infiltrated the area with Darth Malthael's help, chose to withdraw, their objective achieved, and unwilling to confront an ancient Sith superweapon. The arrival of additional Jedi Masters signaled a turning point. Despite the formidable defenses mounted by the droid army, the combined efforts of the Jedi Knights and the clone army had already inflicted significant damage. The droids, struggling to regroup, were ill-prepared to halt the advance of the determined Jedi Masters, who needed only to break through their ranks. Count Dooku watched in dismay as Anakin Skywalker methodically dismantled the Dark Reaper. Seizing the moment, Master Windu intensified his assault, forcing the droids guarding the superweapon into action. A destroyer droid emerged, unfolding its shield and unleashing a barrage from its twin blasters. Yet Anakin, agile as ever, evaded the onslaught with ease, rendering the droid's efforts futile. The destruction of the Dark Reapers seemed inevitable. In a moment of desperation, Count Dooku cried out, "We can't lose the Dark Reapers. Are you just going to watch the Jedi claim victory?" His plea went unanswered as Darth Malthael, still shrouded in shadows, watched the drama unfold with a mixture of amusement and interest. To him, the duel between Count Dooku and Master Windu was more than a mere spectacle. It was an opportunity to study the art of lightsaber combat from two of its most accomplished practitioners. As the battle raged on, the droid reinforcements, including the swift destroyer droids and the more powerful B-2 super battle droids, arrived in force, unleashing a relentless barrage on Anakin. Yet, the Jedi's resolve remained unshaken, his focus unwavering as he edged closer to his goal, the destruction of the Dark Reapers and the salvation of the galaxy from its shadow. Master Windu, once suppressed, was soon joined by other Jedi Masters, including Luminara Unduli, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Depa Billaba. They arrived and engaged fiercely with the droid army. However, the battle took an unexpected turn when the number of Jedi Knights seemingly surged. Suddenly, hundreds of clones appeared beside the Jedi Masters, brandishing lightsabers with determination. Count Dooku immediately recognized it as an illusion, yet he was astonished to see the droids treating these clones as real threats, diverting most of their firepower towards them. Count Dooku's attention was drawn to two figures, one clad in red and the other in blue, who were being closely guarded by Depa Billaba. These were two young women with blonde hair and stoic expressions, dressed in bright attire that was uncharacteristic of the Jedi Order, indicating their exceptional status. Their ability to conjure illusions that could deceive electronic sensors underscored their significance. Unlike traditional Jedi, they wielded 4 miniature light daggers each, significantly smaller than even Master Yoda's lightsaber. With the Force, they skillfully maneuvered these tiny blades to pierce through the droids, retrieving them with precision. Despite their effectiveness in dispatching many droids, Count Dooku noted their vulnerability in direct combat, unable to deflect incoming laser and blaster fire. It was clear why Depa Billaba was so protective. The illusions they created could turn the tide of battle. Count Dooku pondered whether to report these prodigious talents to Darth Sidious, contemplating whether to eliminate them or entice them to the dark side. Their continued presence within the Jedi Order posed a significant threat. As the droids focused their attacks on the illusions, Count Dooku found himself under increased pressure. He called out for assistance, but the Sith Lord, self-styled as the Angel of Death, offered no response. Meanwhile, Anakin Skywalker succeeded in disabling all the energy nodes of the Dark Reaper, leaving its formidable shield deactivated. Exhausted from the prolonged battle against the Dark Reaper's dark side influence, Anakin collapsed, gasping for breath. Master Windu, barely acknowledging Anakin's struggle, commanded the destruction of the Dark Reaper. Obi-Wan Kenobi rushed to Anakin's aid, expressing concern for his well-being. Anakin, with determination in his eyes, assured Obi-Wan of his resolve to destroy the Dark Reaper and pushed forward towards the machine. Unnoticed in the chaos, Luna Meng and Luna Huan exchanged smirks, a sneer playing at the corners of their mouths, hinting at unseen machinations at play. Vol 2, Chapter 611, The Destruction of the Dark Reaper. As the Jedi launched their assault, the formidable structure of the Dark Reaper began to crumble. However, without heavy artillery at their disposal, they found themselves at a disadvantage against the colossal machine, which spanned 100 meters in diameter. The necessary weaponry to obliterate it was with the clone army, who were struggling to maintain their current positions against the relentless robot army, making any attempt to break through and provide support a daunting task. In this critical moment, Luna Meng and Luna Huan exchanged determined glances before simultaneously charging towards the Dark Reaper, accompanied by the illusions of Jedi Knights they had conjured. Count Dooku, quickly grasping their strategy, bellowed in desperation, "No! You fools! Death Angel! How long will you idly stand by?" Trapped in combat with Master Windu, whose swordsmanship rivaled his own, Dooku could do nothing but watch as the illusions converged on the Dark Reaper. The robot army, deceived, redirected their firepower towards these illusions. A barrage of lasers, blaster beams, and missiles ensued, all accurately striking their intended targets. However, the attacks merely passed through the illusions and instead bombarded the Dark Reaper. Explosions rocked the ancient Sith superweapon, leading to its ultimate disintegration under the relentless onslaught. "Death Angel!" Count Dooku's roar echoed amidst the chaos. Master Windu, sensing something amiss with Dooku's furious outbursts, realized the significance of the name he was invoking. A chill ran down his spine as he recognized it as another Sith Lord. This realization was accompanied by an overwhelming sense of danger. Looking up, he saw a dark figure charging towards him from the direction of the now-destroyed Dark Reaper, emanating a powerful dark force. Reacting instinctively, Master Windu raised his lightsaber in defense, but the force behind the attack was staggering, sending him flying. The dark figure, Darth Marthiel, launched a relentless assault, wielding a blood-red lightsaber with ferocious intensity. Master Windu, caught off guard, found himself on the defensive, struggling against Darth Marthiel's unyielding attacks. Despite Master Windu's exceptional swordsmanship, which allowed him to identify and exploit several of Darth Marthiel's vulnerabilities, his efforts were in vain. An invisible force barrier thwarted every counterattack, leaving him no choice but to retreat continuously. Darth Marthiel's strategy was clear: to relentlessly attack, forcing Master Windu into a defensive position and gradually cornering him towards the remnants of the Dark Reaper. Meanwhile, Luna Meng and Luna Huan observed Darth Marthiel's dominance over Master Windu with keen interest. Seizing the moment of distraction, Count Dooku made his escape. Casting one final glance at the exploding Dark Reaper, he cursed under his breath before disappearing into the shadows. Darth Marthiel, sensing his adversary's weakening resolve, intensified his offensive, his swordplay becoming even more aggressive and ruthless. Master Windu, already drained from his previous encounters and the influence of the Dark Reaper, found himself overwhelmed by Darth Marthael's relentless assault. In a critical moment, as a bright red sword light flashed, Master Windu mustered all his strength to evade, but the lightsaber still grazed his chest. Despite his efforts to avoid a direct hit, the battle's tide had unmistakably turned against him. The sword's light left a terrifying burn mark on his chest, scorching through his clothes which now caught fire. Nearby Jedi Masters rushed to aid Master Windu, while Darth Marthael turned, vanishing into a black mist towards the Dark Reaper. At that moment, Anakin Skywalker pinpointed the core of the Dark Reaper, shouting as he hurled his lightsaber with precision. Unnoticed by all, the surrounding phantoms flickered briefly. The lightsaber pierced the Dark Reaper's core, causing it to explode into countless fragments. Anakin retrieved his lightsaber, sensing something amiss yet unable to pinpoint it. However, the Dark Reaper's core was indeed destroyed, rendering the superweapon inactive as the ominous purple light in the sky faded away. Exhausted, Anakin collapsed to the ground, his head throbbing with pain from the dark knowledge Ulic Quildorma had imparted to him. Obi-Wan Kenobi approached to help him up, and Anakin managed to say weakly, "We won." Meanwhile, the other Jedi Knights gathered around Master Windu, ensuring his safety before proceeding to eliminate the remaining droids. From a Republic Chaser-class battlecruiser in orbit around Thule, Master Yoda observed the planet intently. Beside him, Master Windu's holographic projection stated, "This battle, we have won, yet the path to true victory remains long." On board the spaceship, Count Dooku reported to Darth Sidious via holographic projection, kneeling on one knee. Darth Sidious, clearly displeased yet controlling his emotions, spoke in a distorted voice. "Yoda and Windu cannot be omnipresent. The galaxy's darkness is vast, and they will inevitably overlook something. Did you discover anything else during this battle?" Count Dooku was about to mention Darth Marthael, but paused as he sensed a disturbance. Glancing to the side, he noticed a black smoke slowly forming in the corner of the spaceship. Changing the subject, he reported, "Anakin Skywalker has been exposed to the knowledge of the Dark Reaper. This allowed the Jedi Order to destroy the superweapon, but it also sowed the seeds of darkness within him. Furthermore, I've discovered that the Jedi Order harbors 2 girls with significant potential." The battle's aftermath left the Jedi victorious, yet the shadows of the dark side loomed, hinting at challenges yet to come. Volume 2, Chapter 612, The Challenge. After concluding his communication, Count Dooku rose to his feet and noticed Darth Marthael lurking in the shadows, his arms crossed over his chest. Although Marthael's face was obscured, the chilling gaze from beneath his hood was unmistakably directed at Dooku, carrying a hint of amusement. "I require an explanation, Death Angel," Count Dooku stated gravely. "The Dark Reaper could have been a formidable weapon against the Republic, yet you allowed it to be destroyed. Do you believe we lack the strength to challenge the Republic?" "You've misunderstood my earlier words, Darth Tyrannus," Darth Marthael responded calmly. "Indeed, the Dark Reaper holds power, but it was never truly ours to command. My presence on Thule planet would have changed nothing." Dooku's expression darkened. He understood Marthael's implication. Even with Marthael's assistance, he couldn't protect the Dark Reaper from the Jedi Order. And more fundamentally, even if he had managed to keep it, the weapon would still belong to Darth Sidious, not him. This realization was precisely why he hadn't accused the Death Angel in front of Darth Sidious. "What are your intentions regarding the Republic and the Confederacy?" Count Dooku inquired. "Our interests do not conflict. Are you familiar with Darth Plagueis?" Darth Marthael asked, shifting the topic. Count Dooku remained silent. He had heard the name, but knew little about it, especially since Darth Sidious had never mentioned it. "Then you must know of Hego Damask too?" Marthael pressed. Dooku's expression shifted subtly, but he replied evenly, "Yes, I'm aware of him. I'm not concerned with what Sidious has promised you, but whatever it is you desire most, he will never grant it. He is nothing more than a short-sighted traitor," Marthael declared. With a gesture, he summoned the severed head of a clone trooper recently retrieved from the battlefield. Injecting a force of life into the decapitated head, the eyes snapped open, scanning the room before attempting to scream. However, only blood flowed from the slit throat, and the head died once more, its expression frozen in terror. "I can reveal to you the secrets of immortality, Darth Tyrannus. Consider what it is you truly desire," Darth Marthael concluded. Just then, the hatch opened and a guard entered, his complexion pale. He was clutching a spherical device about a meter in diameter, the core of the Dark Reaper. "It appears you've come for the Dark Reaper, haven't you?" Count Dooku observed, his tone darkening. "Yes, this superweapon no longer belongs to the Jedi Order, nor to Darth Sidious. It belongs to us," Darth Marthael sneered, taking the Dark Reaper core from the guard, who stood motionless like a puppet. Narrowing his eyes, Count Dooku drew his lightsaber and advanced to intercept Marthael, only to be repelled by an invisible barrier that sent him crashing to the ground. Meanwhile, another listless guard had already opened the spaceship's door, allowing Darth Marthael to transform into a black mist and escape. Simultaneously, a red spaceship, previously cloaked, appeared and maintained pace with Count Dooku's ship. After boarding the Sith infiltrator, which then reactivated its cloaking device and vanished, the mercenaries collapsed, lifeless as if their strings had been cut, revealing they had been dead for at least 10 minutes. Reflecting on Darth Marthael's words, Count Dooku realized the depth of the challenge ahead. Just now, he murmured to himself, "Eternal life." After pondering for a moment, he picked up the communicator and dialed Tang Xiao's frequency, only to be informed by an assistant that Tang Xiao was currently at a press conference, addressing the world to bolster the morale for the war. Count Dooku activated the holographic network on his spaceship, watched Tang Xiao delivering his speech, and sank into deep thought. Upon returning to the Endor galaxy aboard the Mothership Glory, Tang Xiao carefully concealed the core of the Dark Reaper in a secret chamber, acing it alongside Little Kleish's gauntlet. Given his public persona, it was impractical for him to wear the gauntlet openly. Surveying these two ancient Sith Empire artifacts, Tang Xiao couldn't help but feel like he was the archetypal villain in a story. After all, defeating him would mean losing high-value equipment, akin to rare or orange loot in games. "I've retrieved the item, but to do so, I had to reveal myself to Count Dooku sooner than planned," Tang Xiao remarked coolly. "But it was your only opportunity to acquire it, and it will significantly benefit you in the future," Lucien Del Rey's voice responded. "I'll trust you this time," Tang Xiao conceded, then severed the connection to the power of death. He took the private elevator to his office, settled onto the sofa, and began reviewing documents he had neglected over the past few days. Shortly after, the office door opened, and in walked Tang Xiao, or someone who looked exactly like him. The sight was so bizarre that Tang Xiao couldn't help but burst into laughter. "Ha ha ha ha! Are you Tang Xiao?" "I am Tang Xiao," the man replied. "Come on then, take a few steps for me," Tang Xiao instructed. The man complied, pacing back and forth in front of Tang Xiao in a very mechanical manner. "Now, get out of the way," Tang Xiao commanded again. "Walk like a tiger," the man repeated, his movements still robotic, going 1,000 miles in a day. Unable to contain himself, Tang Xiao's laughter grew louder. "Walk 1,000 miles in a day," the man continued, his actions becoming increasingly absurd. "Go out." Tang Xiao was overcome with laughter, finding the entire scenario utterly ridiculous and amusing. Memories foreign to this world began to surface in his mind. His laughter eventually subsided, and with a swift motion of his hand, he unleashed a powerful burst of dark side force, instantly tearing the T-850 into shreds. Artificial blood splattered everywhere as he shouted, "You're not me! You're just a damn robot!" Then he returned to his seat, his expression darkening as if the laughter had never occurred. The voice of his advisor came through. "Lord Governor, according to your schedule, you are due on the planet Cave Bill in 2 hours. Professor Arroyo Barlow from the Solarian engineering team awaits your presence at the launch ceremony for the new generation of destroyers. Additionally, the first batch of Martha-class heavy cruisers is ready for your inspection." Standing up, Tang Xiao's demeanor had shifted back to his usual calm. "Clean up this mess, please, and inform Professor Arroyo that I will be arriving ahead of schedule," he said with a smile. "Understood," came the reply. Vol 2, Chapter 613, New Battleship Tree. A shuttle gracefully descended onto the planet Cave Bill. This oceanic world was undergoing rapid transformations, with new oceanic city platforms being constructed almost daily. The Solarians, known for their remarkable efficiency, were spearheading these developments. In a groundbreaking move to rebuild civilization, Professor Mo Ding challenged Solarian tradition by lifting the hatching limit for 20 years, allowing for population growth. It was projected that within 2 decades, the Solarian population would stabilize at between 800 million to 1 billion. Only then would they resume their traditional practice of limiting annual population growth to maintain balance. Tang Xiao's shuttle made its way directly to the central spaceport of the largest oceanic city platform. Upon disembarking, he was promptly greeted by the Solarians' chief engineer, Arroyo Barlow, and his core team. The Solarians, who scarcely understood the concept of waiting, had calculated Tang Xiao's arrival to the second and were there to meet him without delay. Without wasting a moment on pleasantries, Arroyo Barlow gestured for Tang Xiao to follow and began speaking as they walked. The database access you provided revealed that the Immerse Empire's battleships are highly adaptable, with significant flexibility in their weapon and energy systems. Integrating them with our existing technology poses a challenge, primarily due to the need for replacing the hull material with tri-titanium alloy crystallite and silver-like supermetal. However, we've identified suitable materials on planet Doli. Tang Xiao, intrigued, inquired, "How does the newly produced destroyer compare to our current warships?" "The best way to understand is through a trial flight," Arroyo replied. Nodding, Tang Xiao followed him to the control center located on the opposite side of the spaceport. The center's super-large screen displayed a space station within a secret dock, where 3 large warships were docked side by side in the spacious hangar. The warship's design was sleek and unified, exuding an aesthetic harmony. Their flat hulls featured 2 protruding catamaran hulls at the front, resembling fangs. Yet, the golden coating lent an elegance and grace to the design, avoiding any sense of ferocity. Tang Xiao's gaze sharpened as he observed the ships. Upon his arrival at the control center, Arroyo Barlow immediately busied himself with preparations, leaving Tang Xiao in the care of several human scientists who approached to provide explanations. "Lord Governor, I am Lin Long, the structural designer in Professor Arroyo's ship engineering team." One scientist introduced himself with a polite bow. "The prototypes for the 3 Enforcer-class destroyers are ready. We will commence the trial voyage in 10 minutes. Among the hundreds of ships from the Immerse Empire in the database, we chose the Enforcer class as it represents our initial breakthrough in overcoming technical barriers, making it highly suitable." Lin Long's explanation was clear and concise, a stark contrast to the rapid-fire delivery often associated with the Larui people. "Doesn't this approach risk being overly simplistic, lacking in technical depth, or overly complex, potentially hindering research progress?" Tang Xiao asked. "Indeed, the energy supply system is the heart of the Immerse Empire's battleships. This system's design closely aligns with our existing battleships' energy structures. However, overcoming the challenges in production processes and material technology still requires significant effort. It must be said, the Solarians truly are natural-born scholars," Lin Long responded. As they conversed, the 3 Enforcer-class destroyers on the screen ignited their engines and lifted off from the hangar platform. The camera drone followed closely, ensuring a constant view of the ships as they embarked on their trial voyage. Maintaining a suitable distance, the majestic silhouette of the Enforcer-class destroyer was fully displayed. The Enforcer class measures 266 meters in length and 42 meters in height. According to the classification of Fourth Civilization warships, it qualifies as a heavy destroyer. It is equipped with 8 advanced weapon slots, allowing for the installation of up to 16 turrets. The design of the Immerse Empire's battleship is highly modular, enabling us to easily swap out equipment on these slots to modify the ship's performance as needed. Lin Long began his explanation. "What's the current armament?" inquired Tang Xiao. "Currently, it's armed with 16 medium-sized X-ray integrated turrets. These turrets can adjust their power output to either increase firing frequency for engaging enemy fighters or boost power to directly combat other warships," Lin Long explained. On the screen, the three Enforcer-class destroyers commenced their test firing on a target ship, demonstrating their firepower's versatility under various power settings. This versatility finally put Tang Xiao at ease. His decision to focus research on the Immerse Empire's spaceships in Eve was based on their reliance on energy weapons, which aligned well with their existing technology and promised to significantly expedite research and development. However, compatibility had been a major concern. Fortunately, the integration of Fourth Civilization weapon systems, including turbo laser cannons and advanced X-ray weapons from the STARS technology tree, as well as particle beam weapons from the Homeland 2 technology tree, into the Immerse Empire's battleships appeared to be successful, much to Tang Xiao's relief. And the defense systems? Tang Xiao pressed on. The Immerse Empire's battleships typically employ electromagnetic field technology to enhance nano-armor performance, adjusting the effectiveness of this voltage-type film through varying magnetic fields. However, we have yet to master this technology. For the time being, the Enforcer class is outfitted with a deflector shield, though this does place additional strain on the ship's capacitors and can impact firepower, Lin Long explained. Do we have a timeline for mastering the voltage film technology? Tang Xiao asked. It's quite different from our current technology. It's estimated that it could take at least 6 months, Lin Long replied. But as of now, in simulated battles, the Enforcer class's combat performance slightly surpasses that of the Apocalypse-class cruisers. I believe that once we master the voltage film technology, we'll see a significant leap in performance, ensuring our superiority over Republic battleships within this class. In that case, let's authorize the Solarians to start building their own fleet, beginning with the Enforcer class, Tang Xiao decided. Additionally, the Punisher-class frigates should be finalized within a month. Together, these two types of warships should form a combat-effective team, added Lin Long. Then, it's time for the Solarians to make their mark in the galaxy. Attachment 1 of the Easter Egg Chapter, Immerse Empire Enforcer-class Destroyer. Vol 2, Chapter 614, Unleashing the Beasts. The successful trial of the Enforcer-class heavy destroyer filled Tang Xiao with immense confidence. It wasn't just about the sheer power of this battleship. It was more about opening a pathway for the Fourth Civilization to harness the advanced battleship technologies found in the Eve universe. The technological landscape of Eve far surpassed that of the Fourth Civilization's current mainstay, the original sin of the Empire of the Sun, with its diverse and fully functional warship designs. This marked a crucial phase in Tang Xiao's three-stage development strategy for the civilization, setting the stage for future competition against the formidable fleets of the Galactic Empire. With the technical hurdles now overcome, a promising journey lay ahead. Before his departure, Tang Xiao had a word with Arroyo Barlow, advising that if progress on larger warships hit a snag, efforts should be redirected towards developing cutter-class frigates. He emphasized that their battlefield performance far exceeded what the data suggested. After imparting this advice, Tang Xiao set off for the Solarian capital on planet Cavebill. There, alongside Professor Mo Ding, he met with the Supreme Council of Elders, led by a female Solarian named Jacinda. She expressed the Solarians' gratitude for Tang Xiao's role in revitalizing their race and their eagerness to join the Fourth Civilization, forming a permanent alliance. The Solarians were ready to stand with the Fourth Civilization in the ongoing war, offering their expertise in scientific research and intelligence. They proposed sending teams of 3 to 5 members to assist with intelligence operations on each capital ship. Tang Xiao assured them of equal treatment within the Fourth Civilization, with opportunities to serve as captains and participate in high-level decision-making bodies. Following this, he accepted Professor Mo Ding's recommendation to join the cabinet, becoming the highest-ranking administrator for the Solarians. He also appointed another Solarian as an assistant to the counselor, representing planet Cavebill in the Council of the Confederacy of Independent Systems. Jacinda revealed the formation of a secret service dedicated to the Fourth Civilization, operating in the shadows to maintain confidentiality. Returning to the Glory Mothership, Tang Xiao attended to 3 pending communications from Count Dooku, Yuri Olov, and Geth. After some contemplation, he secluded himself in his secret room to contact Geth. The holographic projection revealed a grotesque figure clad in armor, recognized as Tremi Brad. This master computer expert had integrated himself with the Geth network, leading to his resurrection by Tang Xiao. Although his body required maintenance via a Bactajar, Geth had modified it extensively, resulting in a hybrid of human and machine. This chapter not only advances the plot, but also deepens the political and technological landscape of Tang Xiao's universe. The alliances formed and the strategic decisions made underscore the complexity of interstellar politics and warfare, setting the stage for future developments. Half-robot, Geth, communicated from planet Sojourn, expressing a need for expansion due to scarce resources. "We need to expand," Geth stated. Tang Xiao, having created Geth, offered a star map of the galaxy, but made it clear that his only request was the elimination of Shift Palpatine. He warned Geth about the superior strength of the Galactic Republic and their likely intolerance towards mechanical intelligent life. "A deal will be reached. We are in search of more resource planets, and will assess the combat effectiveness of the Galactic Republic," Geth responded. Tang Xiao advised starting with marginal planets to avoid immediate conflict and offered military support for Geth's operations. After ending the communication, Tang Xiao pondered the strategic position of the remote and unremarkable planet Sochao Lun. Located in the northwest of the Milky Way, it offered strategic advantages, especially lie for the Fourth Civilization and its military group, which had been relatively inactive since the war began. The Galactic Republic was at war with the Confederation of Independent Systems, with two notable entities remaining neutral due to their vast influence across the galaxy: the Interstellar Banking Association and the Trade Federation. Despite their neutrality, they faced sanctions and restrictions from the Republic, which remained wary of their potential influence, especially the Interstellar Banking Association, which controlled the galaxy's economic lifelines. To counter the Interstellar Banking Association, the Republic amassed a large fleet around its headquarters on planet Makido. Tang Xiao, supporting Sandhill and leveraging the Fourth Group's resources, contributed to the defense of Makido, preventing the Republic from breaching its defenses. This standoff was beneficial for the Confederation of Independent Galaxies, the Interstellar Banking Association, and Tang Xiao's plans. With Geth's involvement, there was a new opportunity to challenge the Galactic Republic from an unexpected direction. If Geth's forces could join with the Interstellar Banking Association and the Fourth Group's fleet, they could create a significant threat to the Republic, particularly from the northwest. This strategic alliance had the potential to shift the balance of power in the galaxy, offering a new dimension to the ongoing conflict. The control of the plain star map of the Milky Way was a coveted prize, one that neither the Republic nor the Confederation of Independent Systems could claim as their own. This was a region of space that held significance not just for the Fourth Group and the Interstellar Banking Association, but also for the Geths. Moreover, it was home to Kali, a pivotal ally of the Fourth Civilization, marking its strategic importance. The rise of the Geth posed a direct threat to the moon's homeworld of Murinster. This escalating tension was a chess move anticipated by Palpatine, who had plans to target the Interstellar Banking Association. Such a maneuver was calculated to force the association into submission, effectively turning this critical area into the Freemasonry's stronghold. This strategic positioning was not just a matter of military or political advantage. It was a statement of power, a declaration that the Freemasonry was a force to be reckoned with, capable of influencing the balance of power in the galaxy. Note: attached to the Easter egg Chapter 1 are the coordinates for the planet Makedo, 1, and the approximate location of the planet Sojourn, 2. For those interested, a text version is available for download for convenient reading on mobile devices. Vol 2, Chapter 615, Tentative Efforts. "You did a commendable job this time, Yuri," Tang Xiao remarked with a hint of appreciation. "It's merely business, Mr. Governor," Yuri Orlov responded through the holographic projection, leisurely lighting a cigar. "Anakin sought weapons, and he received them. Obi-Wan was in need of mercenaries, and he got them. The Jedi desired to assault Thule, and their wish was granted. My aim was to profit, and that I did. Whatever you did in the interim doesn't concern me. I'm aware, Yuri. Your reliability has never been in question, Tang Xiao acknowledged. However, I did deviate from my principles this time. Truth be told, numerous mercenaries were eager to undertake the Thule mission, but at your request, I specifically recommended Giant God security. So, shall we discuss my compensation? Yuri inquired. What is it you desire? Just name it, Tang Xiao said, a slight smile playing on his lips. I want Vitali. Yuri hesitated before stating his condition. Vitali? Your brother? Tang Xiao's brow furrowed. Indeed, he has been untraceable since the civil war erupted on Celia. He aligned himself with an anti-war faction, advocating for planets to abstain from conflict and maintain neutrality. It's a perilous endeavor, and I wish for you to ensure his safe return, Yuri explained. Where can he be found? I don't know. I can't make any promises, Yuri. I'll have the intelligence agencies search for him, but his willingness to return is his own prerogative, unless you're suggesting abduction, Tang Xiao replied. Yuri Orlov took a deep drag from his cigar, his voice heavy. He's my brother. Tang Xiao met his gaze firmly. Very well, consider it done. The following day, Tang Xiao had already made his way to Lassax, a subplanet located on the opposite side of the galaxy, home to the Confederate Parliament of the Independent Galaxy. Representing the Solarians, Grand Elder Jacinda made an official appearance at the Confederate Council of the Independent System, unveiling the existence of the Solarians. She provided comprehensive data on the DNA characteristics, lifestyle, and language of the Solarians for inclusion in the Confederate General Database. Additionally, the planet Caveville was designated as the Solarians' homeworld, with its origins purportedly from an unidentified star field. The Gnolls, identified as a vassal race to the Solarians, were noted to lack independent administrative authority due to their status. Subsequently, Mura the Solarian was formally inducted as a Confederate, establishing his delegation's presence on the subplanet Lassax. The Solarians' arrival sent shockwaves through the political landscape of the Confederation of Independent Systems, not least because of the 2 Enforcer-class heavy destroyers that accompanied the delegation. These battleships, distinct from any existing models within the galaxy, showcased pronounced racial characteristics. The Solarians' satisfaction with the Imar Empire's battleship design indicated that this newly introduced race possessed its own shipbuilding capabilities. Moreover, the impressive length of 266 meters underscored the substantial scale of their industrial system, a feat that encompasses various fields such as materials science, aeronautics, electronics, and fuel science. This achievement alone positioned the Solarians above at least 90% of the races within the Confederation of Independent Systems in terms of scientific and industrial prowess. The inclusion of such a technologically advanced race naturally revitalized the Confederation of Independent Systems Parliament and drew considerable attention. Business guilds, corporate alliances, and other industrial magnates eagerly extended offers to the Solarians, particularly the Technology Alliance. Its chairman, Walter Tamber, proposed an immediate purchase of an Enforcer-class heavy destroyer for 50 million credits, an offer that was ultimately declined. However, the Trade Federation, the Interstellar Banking Association, remained relatively unmoved, led by Darth Marthail's insinuations. After the meeting, Count Dooku sought out Tang Xiao, inviting him to a private reception. Once settled, Dooku broached the subject of the Solarians, a race Tang Xiao's expedition team had encountered in an uncharted star domain years prior. Your Excellency Governor, the Solarians are the unknown stars your team explored a few years ago, correct? That was around the time General Severance Tan visited, Dooku inquired. Tang Xiao confirmed with a smile. Indeed, my team did explore an unknown star domain and assisted the Solarians in finding a hyperspace route out. We've maintained a good relationship with them since. Dooku acknowledged this, but quickly shifted the conversation to a more intriguing topic. I've encountered the Angel of Death, he revealed, watching Tang Xiao's reaction closely. Tang Xiao's expression briefly betrayed his shock before settling into a mix of excitement and reverence. You've seen Lord Dead Angel himself? Yes, his strength and wisdom are truly remarkable, Dooku shared, noting Tang Xiao's admiration. Lord Dead Angel is the most formidable individual I've ever met. He shares your vision for a new order in the galaxy. Together, you could achieve this goal, Tang Xiao enthused. Dooku's demeanor turned grave as he posed a critical question. What is your view on the relationship between this dead angel and myself? Tang Xiao, feigning confusion, replied, I'm not sure I follow, Count Dooku. At this meeting, he expressed a desire to kill me, Dooku disclosed, his tone tinged with frustration. Tang Xiao, maintaining his puzzled facade, responded, That's perplexing. After meeting him, I was convinced of his intentions and joined the Confederacy. Why would he want you dead? Dooku, now visibly irritated, pressed further. If a conflict arises between me and the dead angel, whose side will you choose? Tang Xiao's smile turned enigmatic. I am committed to the galaxy's new order. Should a conflict arise, it would indicate a deviation from our shared path. Dawn Planet will steadfastly choose the galaxy's future. Dooku's tension eased as he shifted the conversation to a more personal request. The earlier tension seemingly evaporated. I have a favor to ask. General Severance Tan is a rare talent, and I wish to transfer her to the High Command of the Confederation of Independent Systems to lead a larger fleet. Would you agree? Tang Xiao, however, declined without hesitation. General Tan was gravely injured by a Jedi Knight in a recent battle. She requires time to recover, both physically and mentally. Moreover, her leadership is crucial to her current theater of operations. Dooku, understanding the refusal, lightly nodded. I respect your decision. On another note, I've replicated the extractor technology and established an extractor on the planet Krant. I hope General Tan can oversee this project. The conversation between Tang Xiao and Count Dooku highlighted the complex web of alliances and rivalries within their universe, setting the stage for future conflicts and collaborations. Vol 2, Chapter 616, Dooku's Apprentice. The Extractor? Krante Planet? Tang Xiao's brow furrowed in confusion. The arrangement made by Count Dooku seemed peculiar. Was it possible that he was conspiring with Darth Sidious to eliminate Severance Tan, the renowned and formidable general? Although the original storyline did not explicitly mention Severance Tan, the early demise of such a celebrated general raised several questions, prompting Tang Xiao to remain vigilant. However, Count Dooku revealed, the secret of the extractor was discovered by General Tan, and she has earned this distinction. Once we resolve the issues with the extractor and integrate this technology into our warships, our advantage will significantly increase. As a token of appreciation, I will grant access to this technology to Dawn Planet once it's developed. Tang Xiao had anticipated many outcomes, but he hadn't expected Count Dooku's generosity in sharing such critical technology. It was well known that within the Confederation of Independent Systems, technologies were closely guarded secrets among the political, economic entities, and corporate behemoths. They might exchange products, but technology sharing was off limits. Count Dooku's offer to provide Dawn Planet with technology potentially worth billions of credits was astonishing. What could be his motive? Was it related to the Angel of Death? It was too early to conclude. A whirlwind of thoughts raced through Tang Xiao's mind, yet he managed to express his gratitude appropriately. Rising from the sofa, he displayed a look of overwhelming honor. Count Dooku, this generosity is beyond my capacity to accept. You are earnestly striving for a new order in the galaxy. That is commendable, Count Dooku responded with a smile. However, I expect General Tan to be more involved once this project comes to fruition. Tang Xiao understood the implicit condition. It was not to be declined. Despite his reservations, he smiled and assured, Your faith in us is deeply appreciated. Dawn Planet will steadfastly support the Confederacy and the cause of freedom across the galaxy. After Tang Xiao's departure, Count Dooku remained seated, lost in thought until his communicator buzzed. He stood, walked over, and answered the call. The caller was a covert intelligence officer who reported, After extensive surveillance, I have confirmed she is the right candidate. How is she faring now? Inquired Count Dooku. The officer detailed, She is a Dathomirian adopted by the Ventress family on Ratatak and likely received Jedi training. She emerged as a warlord on Ratatak, becoming a hero to the people after ending a civil war. Subsequently, she relinquished her power, it's turned to bounty hunting, and frequently competed in the planet's arenas. Although my connection to the Force is minimal, her potential is unmistakably profound. Count Dooku, satisfied with the report, instructed, "Proceed with caution. I will visit Ratatak personally." Count Dooku's Geonosian solar sail spacecraft touched down at a spaceport on Ratatak. Concealed beneath a brown cloak, he made his way to the planet's largest arena and settled in a lounge with a view of the battleground below. His intelligence officer was nowhere to be seen, but this did not surprise him. Upon arrival, he had learned that today's event was a grueling series of battles, culminating in a champion who would be crowned the king of gladiatorial combat on Ratatak. Below, a young woman stood silently in the arena. Her pale complexion and somber expression were striking, and her shaved head bore 12 distinct lines. Tattooed on both sides of her bald head, the young woman exuded an exotic charm that seemed almost out of place in the brutal and violent arena. Despite her shocking appearance, her shapely and alluring figure stood in stark contrast to the surroundings. She wielded a Z-shaped double-edged machete with remarkable skill, gripping it in the middle of its unique shape. Such an unconventional weapon demanded exceptional prowess to master, lest the wielder risk injuring themselves. It was clear she was no ordinary combatant. She was Asajj Ventress, and her presence had caught the attention of Count Dooku, who watched her with a scrutinizing gaze. Sensing his stare, Asajj Ventress raised her head and met his gaze, a sneer curling at the corner of her mouth. At that moment, her opponent, a Gamorrean wielding a massive sledgehammer, charged at her, hoping to exploit a perceived moment of distraction. The Gamorrean's size dwarfed Ventress, his weapon swinging with the force of a wrecking ball. Yet, in a blink, Ventress was at his side, her Z-shaped machete slicing through the air. The Gamorrean's head tumbled from his shoulders, a testament to her lethal precision. Following this, Asajj Ventress dispatched more than 10 gladiators in succession, her opponents ranging from robots to Nyktos, Twi'leks, and even a towering giant of an unknown race, all falling before her with ease. Her victories earned her the adulation of the crowd as she made her way back to the lounge, where Count Dooku awaited her arrival. The door to the lounge swung open, preceded by the rolling head of an intelligence officer, a clear message from Ventress. "Are you the one who has been hiring spies to track me?" she asked, her voice hoarse, yet imbued with a menacing calm that contrasted sharply with her exotic appearance. "I've been observing you for some time. It was only after I summoned you that I sent him to his death. Did you really think such a common man could uncover anything about me? Not a chance," she declared with confidence. "So, you consider yourself beyond ordinary?" Count Dooku inquired, a smile playing on his lips. "Indeed," Ventress replied, her expression turning fierce. "You know nothing of my power. I am a master of the dark side of the Force, a Sith Lord. State your purpose, or face a swift demise." Count Dooku laughed heartily. "A Sith Lord, you say? Then what does that make me?" he mused, drawing his cranked red lightsaber. Ventress, taken aback by the revelation, quickly activated her own lightsabers, one green and one blue, and charged at Count Dooku with the agility of a predator. Their lightsabers clashed in a storm of light and sound, the battle fierce and intense. Despite Ventress's affinity for the dark side, her lightsabers, crafted from natural kyber crystals, seemed ill-suited to her powers, allowing Dooku to gradually overpower her. "You possess great potential, but you lack true understanding of the dark side," Count Dooku observed, nodding with a mix of satisfaction and pity. With a sudden gesture, he unleashed a torrent of Force lightning, striking Ventress with a devastating blow. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, Asajj Ventress, with the bounty hunter Deki in the background. Volume 2, Chapter 617, Asajj Ventress. Count Dooku knelt on one knee, presenting his findings to Darth Sidious through a holographic projection. "My lord, I have discovered someone who has succumbed to darkness. She is powerful, filled with anger, and harbors a deep hatred for the Jedi Order. I believe she would serve excellently as my assistant, becoming a formidable weapon for us in our quest to annihilate the Jedi." Sidious responded with a distorted laugh. "A blade, you say? It reminds me of Darth Maul, whom I once referred to as Blade in the presence of my master." Dooku noted Sidious's use of teacher instead of master, indicating a significant distinction. "Forgive my curiosity, my lord, but who was your teacher?" Dooku inquired with caution. Sidious took a moment before answering. He was the most powerful, knowledgeable, and wisest Sith Lord I have ever encountered, yet simultaneously the most foolish. He dedicated his life to understanding the Force, attempting to categorize its nature as if it were a mathematical equation. Clearly, this was a misguided endeavor, but it did not prevent him from amassing great power. His obsession with immortality made him overlook the most crucial aspect of the Sith way, revenge. Thus, I was compelled to eliminate him. You are familiar with him, are you not? Please enlighten me, Lord, Dooku requested respectfully. Hago Damask II, also known as Darth Plagueis. Sidious revealed with a sinister chuckle. I never imagined that our cause's most significant benefactor was also a formidable Sith Lord, Dooku expressed in astonishment. The past is behind us. The galaxy now serves as our stage, Sidious declared, spreading his hands with a grave expression. Train your blade well. However, be mindful that she is merely your assistant, not your apprentice. The rule of two must not be violated, or I shall intervene to ensure there remains only one apprentice, he added with a menacing laugh. I shall heed your words, Dooku responded, bowing his head. Assign Ventress to assassinate Anakin Skywalker as a test of her capabilities. The outcome of this mission is of no consequence to me, Sidious instructed. Dooku rose and exited the room, finding Asajj Ventress kneeling respectfully at the door. I wish to follow you and master the dark arts under a true Sith Lord, she declared. Come with me, Dooku said tersely, leading Ventress to his meditation chamber. Once seated, he inquired, You were trained as a Jedi? My master was Jedi Knight Kai Narek, but he was forsaken by the Jedi Order, leading to his demise. He left me his lightsabers, and I've kept them ever since, Ventress explained with reverence. Having embraced the dark side, those lightsabers no longer suit you. You must wield a weapon that complements your abilities, utilizing synthetic crystals, Dooku advised. I will follow your guidance. My sole desire is to see the Jedi Order destroyed, Ventress pledged, her loyalty evident, albeit temporarily. I will teach you the ways of the dark side, and together we will bring about the downfall of the Jedi. In exchange, your life and allegiance will be mine, Dooku declared. As you wish, my lord, Ventress replied, bowing deeply. Dooku smirked, summoning 2 curved lightsabers from a nearby cabinet with a gesture. These belong to my former apprentice, Komari Vosa. They are now yours, as a token of my esteem. Ventress accepted the lightsabers with utmost respect. Your first mission is to eliminate a Jedi named Anakin Skywalker. I have learned he has traveled to Naboo following the battle. On the remote world of Thule, Count Dooku issued a command that would set a dark plan into motion. Raid near Naboo, target the satellite Omadun, annihilate the Gungans, and draw Skywalker into the open for the kill. The mercenary Deki will assist you. Do not disappoint me, he said with a tone that brooked no argument. Ventress bowed deeply, a surge of excitement coursing through her veins. Finally, she was an official Sith apprentice, a dream she had, harbored since the tragic death of her master, Ki Narek. Consumed by anger and hatred, she blamed the Jedi Order for her loss, and by extension, saw the Sith as her true path. The acknowledgement from a powerful Sith Lord like Dooku was more than she had dared hope for. Yet, in her eagerness, she failed to notice the cold, sarcastic glint in Dooku's eyes, or the subtle hints that, despite his words, he had never truly accepted her as his apprentice. Meanwhile, on the planet Christopher Heath, the situation had grown dire by July 17th. The relentless advance of the robot army, led by Worm Lortham, toward the capital, Crystal City, put the government of Christopher Sis on the brink of collapse. The only glimmer of hope came from the 500 clone troopers led by Senator Bail Organa from Alderaan. Stationed in the eastern suburbs, they displayed extraordinary combat skills and a fearless spirit, holding back the enemy's advance and creating what could only be described as a military miracle. Their valiant efforts bought the government of Christopher Sis precious time to mobilize militia units for the city's defense. The conflict on the planet was further complicated by the escalating tensions between the inhabitants of Christopher Sis and the Croydons. Armed demonstrations and skirmishes became increasingly common, forcing Worm Lortham to spread his forces thin to maintain order and support the Croydon civilians. Despite the overwhelming odds, the sheer number of inhabitants on Christopher Sis, totaling 35 billion, began to tip the scales in their favor. A week into the conflict, the Confederation of Independent Systems had yet to secure a decisive victory over the planet's major cities, including Crystal City. The Republic, for its part, was not standing idly by. Bailur, the governor of the 13th Legion, Iron Spear, assigned to defend Christopher Sis, was already mobilizing a fleet to break through the blockade on the Corellian trade route. Faced with this new challenge, Worm Lortham sought reinforcements from Paul Argent, the chairman of the Corporate Alliance, requesting additional troops and heavy equipment to bolster their forces. As the battle for Christopher Heath raged on, the lines between friend and foe blurred, and the fate of the planet hung in the balance, with each side determined to emerge victorious. Vol 2, Chapter 618, The Battle of Christopher Sis 3. The battle for control over Christopher Sis escalated rapidly, capturing the attention of the entire galaxy. Both the Galactic Republic and the Confederation of Independent Systems had their eyes fixed on this planet, which was home to 35 billion inhabitants and a treasure trove of rare resources, making it a focal point in their conflict. However, the battle was fraught with challenges for both sides. Christopher Sis's proximity to Hutt space and its location near the planets of Geonosis and Tatooine meant that several key trade routes around the planet were under Hutt control. The planet's main hyperspace channel, the Corellian trade route, was a battleground of influence between the Confederation of Independent Systems and the Galactic Republic. Both factions had deployed numerous hyperspace blockers, severely complicating fleet movements. In this divided hyperspace channel, each side found itself restricted to navigating only within the areas it controlled. Upon learning that the battle was not proceeding as planned, General Grievous, the top military commander of the Confederation of Independent Systems, demanded an explanation from Pascal Argent, who had initiated the conflict without his approval. Pascal Argent, unwilling to admit his own ambitions were at play, claimed he had seized an opportunity to turn the tide against the Croydon people and needed to intervene before any human uprisings could be suppressed. He assured General Grievous that the Corporate Alliance had the capability to independently secure victory and fully occupy Christopher Sis. Grievous, preoccupied with his own plans to attack Camino, had no choice but to accept Pascal Argent's assurances, especially since the Republic's nervous response, including the deployment of at least 40 Chaser-class battlecruisers to besiege Farron, stretched their resources thin. Having made such bold claims, Pascal Argent found himself under pressure and reluctantly criticized Admiral Trench, the architect of the plan. Yet, Admiral Trench's strategy had been flawless up to that point, having neutralized the planet's defensive fleet and established a blockade with precision. This forced Pascal Argent to seek additional reinforcements, emphasizing the need for more than just B-1 battle droids armed with standard E-5 blaster rifles. The battle required a diverse arsenal, including rocket launchers and missile launchers, and careful planning for the deployment of heavy combat machinery. Ultimately, Pascal Argent had to abandon his campaign against the Boza people, redirecting resources from their home planet of Bosa Ui to Christopher Sis. This concession handed a victory to the Galactic Republic, but was necessary to bolster their forces. He also secured a batch of Theoctuptara magnetry droids from Techno-Union's foreman, Walter Tamber. These were an upgraded version of the Octopala-type three-legged robots, enlarged to 14.59 meters with 3 powerful turbo-laser cannons installed. The cannons, mounted on the robot's spherical body, could fire in succession as the body rotated, allowing each cannon to cool and recharge for more powerful shots. This design was particularly effective against multi-directional attacks, providing a significant boost to their firepower on the battlefield. The turbo-laser cannons, capable of firing in multiple directions simultaneously, significantly enhanced the combat capabilities of the enlarged three-legged robots. These robots were particularly effective in urban warfare, a fact that Pascal Argent recognized, leading to his interest in acquiring them. As new models and additional reinforcements were deployed to the planet Christopher Sis, Worm Lortham, bolstered by these reinforcements, launched a renewed assault. This time, his forces overwhelmed the planet's defenders, outmaneuvering them on both flanks and encircling Bel Organa and his clone army in the eastern suburbs. Rather than engaging this formidable opposition directly, Worm chose to bypass them, advancing towards the capital, Crystal City. The sheer size and firepower of the three-legged robots dominated the battlefield, rendering the cover of bunkers ineffective for the soldiers of Christopher Sis. The conflict spread into the heart of Crystal City, igniting battles throughout the vast urban landscape. War refugees, displaced by the escalating violence, fled the city seeking refuge in the suburbs. Bel Organa, whose military acumen was limited, effectively relinquished control of communications within the Galactic Republic, entrusting command and operational decisions to his clone officers. The Supreme Strategic Command of the Galactic Republic faced its own challenges, with their fleet trapped on planet Farron, unable to advance past Admiral Trench's formidable space defenses. In search of alternatives, their attention turned towards Hutt space, specifically targeting Tatooine. The involvement of Count Dooku and Darth Sidious marked a turning point in the battle. Together, they orchestrated a plot to draw the Hutts into the conflict, positioning them against the Republic. On July 19th, an attack targeted Ghidorah Basadi, the overlord of Tatooine, during his travels. The precision of the assault, which resulted in Ghidorah's abduction, suggested an intimate knowledge of his movements. The evidence left behind, including burlap robes, bodies dismembered by lightsabers, and fragments of a Delta-7 fighter jet, pointed unequivocally to the Jedi Knights. The incident provoked outrage among the Hutts. Alok Basadi, a member of the Hutt Great Council, wasted no time in contacting Palpatine's office to express his grievances. Note 1. The clone technique plays a significant role during this period, and Zuoshin's efforts against the Confederate invasion, his encounters with Ventress on Omar Dune, and his struggles in the swamps of Jabim, all while organizing the 501st Legion to support Christopher Sis, occurred in July of 22 BBY. The Battle of Jabim extended into September, indicating the prolonged relevance of his cloning technique. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, the Octopala Magna three-legged robot. For those interested in further details, the text is available for download for mobile reading. Volume 2, Chapter 619, The Ghidorah Kidnapping Case. You, the Galactic Republic, must provide me with an explanation. The Jedi Knights kidnapping a Hutt within Hutt space is utterly unacceptable. Do you not comprehend the significance of Ghidorah and Tatooine at this moment? Alok Basadi, a Hutt, bellowed through the holographic projection, his frustration evident as he crushed the expensive spice stick he was holding. If Ghidorah is not returned to us alive within 3 days, nothing will prevent the Hutts from seeking vengeance. Galactic Republic speaker, Sheev Palpatine, responded with a calm demeanor. I assure you, on my honor, that the Jedi Order has no involvement in this matter. We will certainly provide you with a satisfactory explanation. I will wait for 3 days. After that, be prepared for the consequences. Alok Basadi roared, ending the communication abruptly. Palpatine turned to face Master Yoda, Master Windu, and the others in his office, shaking his head. Our position is too passive at the moment. If we anger the Hutts to the point where they close off Hutt space, we stand to lose access to at least 1/3 of the Outer Rim territories. This must be a separatist plot, aimed at stirring discord between the Hutts and the Republic by kidnapping Ghidorah, Master Yoda speculated. Indeed, Alok is correct. Ghidorah is the de facto ruler of Tatooine. Her abduction has plunged the planet into chaos. Worse still, if the Hutts turn against us and ally with the Separatists, the situation will deteriorate further, Master Windu added. We must retrieve Ghidorah, Palpatine declared. The Separatists are attempting to pin this on the Jedi Order. We must resolve this issue ourselves. Otherwise, the closure of the hyperspace lanes by the Hutts is a consequence we cannot accept. Spread thin, we are, with Jedi fighting on multiple fronts, Master Yoda lamented. Anakin Skywalker is the only one nearby. He had volunteered for a mission on Naboo and should currently be in the Naboo system, dealing with a separatist attack on a Gungan colony on the Omar Dune satellite. However, according to our plans, Anakin was supposed to accompany Obi-Wan Kenobi to reinforce the planet of Christophsis. Their clone army is in the midst of formation. Redirecting him now could be problematic. Jedi Master Adi Gallia expressed her concerns. Retrieving Ghidorah takes precedence. Let Obi-Wan lead the fleet to break through the Separatist defenses on Christophsis. Once Anakin has secured Ghidorah, he can immediately join the battle there, Master Windu proposed. But won't this put too much pressure on Anakin? Adi Gallia questioned, her brow furrowed. He has been in continuous combat for the past 2 months. I fear this additional burden might be too much for him. Anakin possesses extraordinary talent. If he truly is the chosen one, then these challenges should only serve to unlock his full potential, Master Windu stated firmly. Adi Gallia glanced at Depa Billaba and the 2 young women standing behind her, one clad in red and the other in blue, reflecting on the fact that Anakin was not the only talented apprentice. Responsibility is a form of training young Skywalker needs, Master Yoda interjected. Still immature, he is. Perhaps assigning him an apprentice would accelerate his maturity. Indeed, mentoring could greatly benefit his development, Master Windu agreed. Meanwhile, a similar discussion was taking place in the back room of the Glory Mothership. Alak Basadi, still seething with anger from his earlier communication, now adopted a more restrained tone. Unlike his direct confrontation with Palpatine, he was now considering his next steps more carefully. In the midst of preparing to address the issue, Tang Xiao furrowed his brow, visibly perturbed. With the Scourge Legion stationed on Tatooine, how could anything have befallen Ghidorah? He mused, his frustration evident. He had, after all, taken precautions against such an eventuality, especially considering its occurrence in the original storyline. In that narrative, Count Dookie had abducted Jabba's son, Rada, attempting to frame the Jedi Order, thereby drawing the Hutts into the conflict. With Jabba ousted by the Scourge, he presumably retreated to the smuggler's moon, Narsada, leaving Ghidorah Besadi the Hutt in his stead. Yet, despite the change in leadership, the underlying web of interests remained intact, suggesting that history was doomed to repeat itself. The unfolding of events is not merely a sequence of actions, but a complex interplay of causes, effects, and entangled interests. As long as these elements persist, the storyline is likely to follow its predetermined course. This phenomenon, often referred to as plot correction power in time travel narratives, is essentially the inevitable clash of interests, social dynamics, personalities, and even global circumstances. On Tatooine, the strategic importance of the planet was magnified by the ongoing conflict on Christopher Sis. With both the Republic and the Confederation of Independent Systems imposing blockades on each other's hyperspace routes, navigating through Hutt-controlled space emerged as the most viable alternative. However, the Hutts' long-standing policy of neutrality and self-governance meant that allowing either faction's main fleet to traverse their territory would be tantamount to an act of war. Given these constraints, Tatooine, with its peripheral location and heavy traffic, became the focal point of interest. Tang Xiao had been vigilant from the onset of hostilities, assigning the Scourge army under Bossa Magtanskar to secure Tatooine and prevent any mishaps. Furthermore, the land aircraft carrier USS Ghidorah was strategically concealed within the desert, maintaining a crucial link with Mos Eisley City, Tatooine's largest urban center. Despite these measures, an unforeseen incident had occurred. Note, the original text contained references and a setting that seemed to blend elements from the Star Wars universe with an original narrative. The revised passage seeks to clarify and enhance the narrative flow while maintaining consistency with the established universe. Vol 2, Chapter 620, Jabba's Counterattack. Tang Xiao's expression was grave as he spoke with a deep sense of urgency. Ghidorah's safety is paramount. Should anything happen to her, our claim over Tatooine would be severely compromised. The Desiligic family would seize the opportunity to intervene, claiming their right to meddle in Tatooine's affairs. Wait, the Desiligic family. His brow furrowed as a familiar name surfaced in his thoughts. Jabba. Many might dismiss him as inconsequential due to his ignominious end in the movie, but his rise to power was not solely due to his Hutt lineage. Much like Dong Zhuo, who was once revered in Xiliang before his notorious reign in Luoyang, Jabba's debauchery in Tatooine often overshadows his cunning ascent to power. In times of comfort, he might appear complacent, but Jabba was always a formidable force, ready to reveal his ruthless nature and remind everyone of his journey from solitude to empire. The Deseligic family's involvement is undeniable, Alok Basadi concurred. Their success cannot be permitted. If Ghidorah is not rescued promptly and their schemes come to fruition, her death will be certain. This would legitimize the Deseligic family's intervention in Tatooine's defense. It has to be Jabba, Tang Xiao agreed, realizing the significance of the 3-day deadline Alok had mentioned. This was because the Hutt Congress was scheduled to convene in 3 days to discuss Ghidorah's abduction. If the Deseligic family was indeed behind this, they would need time to orchestrate a scenario that would implicate another party, potentially the Jedi Order. The optimal outcome for them would be for Ghidorah to perish in a manner that implicates the Jedi, but not before they had the chance to fully execute their plan. Should Ghidorah die, the Basadi family would face immense disgrace at the Hutt Great Council. Having risked a civil war among the Hutts to seize Tatooine, their failure to maintain control, coupled with the potential for conflict with the Republic over Ghidorah's demise, would be indefensible. The Hutts, while fiercely protective of their own against external threats, are equally meticulous in settling internal disputes. After piecing together the intricate web of alliances and motives, Tang Xiao speculated, this plot cannot be the work of the Deseligic family alone. The Confederation of Independent Galaxies must also be involved. Count Dooku dares to meddle? Alok Basadi exclaimed, barely containing his fury. Their immediate aim might be to drag the Hutts into a war with the Republic, but their ultimate objective is likely to dismantle Hutt dominion. There are factions within the Republic salivating over the prospect of controlling Nexada. With its industrial and economic might, securing Nexada would ensure dominance over at least half of the Outer Rim, Tang Xiao explained, his tone grave. Alok dismissed Tang Xiao's warnings as fear-mongering. I have no patience for your doomsday predictions. This conflict is far more complex than you realize, Alok. We must ensure Ghidorah's safety at all costs. I believe we should discreetly seek assistance from the Jedi Order, Tang Xiao suggested. The Jedi Order? They're the culprits. Why would we turn to them? Alok protested vehemently. Trust me, anyone could be behind this, but not the Jedi Knights, Tang Xiao asserted confidently. There's no time to waste. I'll take immediate action. With a solemn nod to Alok, he terminated the communication. The situation was clear. In Hutt space, only a Hutt could orchestrate such a kidnapping. The stakes were high, and the intricate dance of alliances and betrayals was just beginning. In the intricate web of galactic politics, only Jabba the Hutt possessed the audacity to orchestrate the kidnapping of Ghidorah. Such a bold move could not have been conceived without the collusion of Darth Sidious and Count Dooku. This act, executed under the very noses of the galaxy's most formidable powers, the Galactic Republic, the Confederation of Independent Systems, and the Hutt Cartel, led a terrifying alliance. An alliance with the potential to dominate the galaxy. Today, their target was Ghidorah. Tomorrow, it could very well be the governor of the Dawn Planet meeting an untimely demise. Tang Xiao knew this secret alliance had to be dismantled. With a grim expression, Tang Xiao sprang into action. He dispatched a message to Munter and relayed crucial information to Mrs. M of the Intelligence Service and Commander Justin Reeves of the Fourth Corps. He made the decision to divert Justin Reeves and his elite forces from their planned assault on the planet Christopher Sis, placing them on standby instead. Additionally, Tang Xiao recalled Shi Amin from the Kuna Star Cluster colony. Shi Amin, the only legendary figure Tang Xiao had managed to awaken, had previously shown reluctance to participate in planetary invasions. Respecting his sentiments, and upon the advice of frontline commander Xiao Guanghua, Tang Xiao had reassigned Shi Amin from the forces targeting Besping to a more peaceful role in the Kuna's Teeth colony. Given the colony's stability and Shi Amin's rapport with Governor Volgograd Kennedy, it seemed a fitting assignment. However, with the urgent need to rescue Ghidorah, Tang Xiao realized it was time to call upon Shi Amin once more. After assembling a formidable team consisting of Kun Te, Justin Reeves, and Shi Amin, Tang Xiao pondered their next move. In the original storyline, Count Dooku's scheme involved kidnapping Jabba's son Rhoda, concealing him on the planet Teth, and then leaking this information to the Republic. The Republic's intervention would lead to a confrontation with the Confederation of Independent Systems, ultimately pushing Jabba to ally with the Confederation against the Republic. However, this plot was thwarted by Anakin Skywalker, leading to Jabba siding with the Republic and sparing the Hutts from potential disaster. The current situation on Tatooine, however, had shifted significantly. With the Basadi family's rise to power, thanks to Tang Xiao's assistance, the dynamics within the Hutt cartel had changed. Darth Sidious and Count Dooku's focus had shifted from Rhoda to Ghidorah, adopting a strategy aimed at inciting war between the Hutt cartel and the Republic while simultaneously weakening the Basadi family. This new approach involved framing the Jedi Knights for Ghidorah's public execution, a direct and brutal method to achieve their goals. Faced with these altered circumstances, Tang Xiao was determined to find a solution. Ghidorah's survival was crucial, and the fate of Tatooine hung in the balance. Cloaked in a black garment, Tang Xiao initiated a crucial communication, reaching out to Anakin Skywalker. Volume 2, Chapter 621, Framing the Blame. When Darth Marthael appeared before Anakin Skywalker, shrouded in his black cloak and emanating a sinister aura through his holographic projection, Anakin instinctively drew his lightsaber. "Sith Lord, what are your intentions?" he demanded, his voice laced with suspicion and hostility. The corners of Darth Marthael's mouth curled into a cold smile. "I'm here to offer my assistance," he replied smoothly. "I have no need for help from a Sith," Anakin retorted, his teeth clenched in anger. "Unless you're seeking assistance in meeting your demise." Unperturbed, Darth Marthael responded with a tone of indifference. "I can lead you to Ghidorah the Hutt. Furthermore, I can ensure safe passage for your fleet through the waterway near Tatooine, aiding the planet Christopher Sis in the process." Anakin's expression turned grave. "What schemes are you concocting, Sith?" "You may refer to me as the Death Angel." Darth Marthael reintroduced himself. "Though our encounters have been few, I have never once harmed you. Recall our last meeting on Tatooine. I chose to spare both your mother's life and yours, did I not?" "I seek no one's mercy, Sith. If you wish to kill me, then come forth," Anakin challenged fiercely. "Ghidorah is on the planet Tess," Darth Marthael revealed bluntly. "I'm well aware of your schemes, for I am currently on the planet Tess myself." "Do not think to deceive me with such obvious intelligence," Anakin countered. "If that is the case, then I am at ease. When my special operations team arrives for your rescue, ensure you do not fire upon them," Darth Marthael said with a smile before terminating the communication. He had been informed by Admiral Trench that the Republic's fleet was still engaged in fierce combat on planet Falling. Since the Republic had yet to come to planet Christopher's aid, the timing of the kidnapping did not align with the original plot, indicating significant alterations in the details of the event. Darth Marthael was concerned that Ghidorah's kidnapping might deviate from the original storyline, leading to his imprisonment on a different planet. However, learning from Anakin that Count Dooku had indeed lured them to the planet Tess, he felt reassured and proceeded with his plan. Meanwhile, at the Buomar Monastery, perched atop a steep cliff, the once serene retreat was now engulfed in the chaos of war. The monastery's monks had fled, leaving the site abandoned. A clone army of the Galactic Republic, numbering approximately 500 soldiers and equipped with 10 ATTE all-terrain tactical walkers, launched an assault on the monastery. The defending forces, primarily composed of B-1 battle droids with their insignias removed, were vastly outnumbered. Anakin Skywalker led the charge, his lightsaber deflecting a barrage of blaster fire as he and a squad of clones, equipped with grappling guns, scaled the nearly vertical cliff to breach the droids' defenses. With Anakin's keen force senses and masterful lightsaber skills, they quickly created an opening for the rest of the troops to exploit. The clone army swiftly overcame the droid defenders and secured the monastery. Anakin and a few soldiers ventured into the depths of the monastery, where they discovered a disoriented Ghidorah in the basement. Unbeknownst to them, from a distant mountain, Justin Reeves aimed his sniper rifle, holding a complex telescope in his other hand to survey the area. Through his telescope, he observed a man in a black cloak lurking near the monastery, keeping a watchful eye on Anakin and Ghidorah. A vast assembly of droid forces was gathering in the distance, and a drone was seen capturing images of Anakin and Ghidorah together. Given Anakin's history as Ghidorah's former slave, it was clear that their reunion would not be a pleasant one. Amidst the chaos, it was clear that the gathering was for the purpose of collecting materials. By presenting these endless items to the Hutts, who were already enraged by Ghidorah's demise, it was certain that they would place the blame squarely on the Republic. Once this task was completed, the next step was to ensure silence prevailed. Anakin Skywalker, unaware of Ghidorah's exact words, could only guess they were taunts about his past as a slave. In a fit of rage, he delivered a fierce kick to Ghidorah's substantial tail, an action meticulously captured by a nearby drone. Meanwhile, the robot army began its advance. "They've made their move, so get ready," Justin Reeves stated calmly. "I'm all set here." "The new spaceship the governor provided is truly exceptional," Munter responded with a whistle over the comm. "Rescuing the hostages is my primary duty. But are these individuals up to the task? Their arms and legs seem rather frail. Perhaps they should rest while I go and save the hostages," Shi Aemon suggested somewhat dismissively. Justin Reeves' expression darkened further. "They are the elite fighters of the Fourth Army. Whatever you plan to do, they will be able to match your pace." As he spoke, the robot army launched its assault. These robotic legions, which had been lying in wait in a deactivated state, sprang to life upon receiving a command. They advanced swiftly, soon encircling the monastery. The clone troopers stationed on the perimeter sensed the impending threat and sounded the alarm. They took their positions and opened fire on the encroaching robots from all directions. However, the sheer number of attacking robots was overwhelming. A vast swarm of B-1 battle droids and B-2 super battle droids surged forward like a relentless tide. The rescue operation comprised only 500 clone soldiers, yet they faced an onslaught from over 20,000 robots. To make matters worse, more than 100 Vulture droid fighters took to the skies, launching a barrage of attacks on the clone trooper positions, which lacked air support. "Where did all these robots come from?" one clone trooper exclaimed. "Team A, there's a breach at 11 o'clock. Close it immediately," another ordered. With the robots vastly outnumbering them, the clone troopers received an order. "All units, attention. Abandon the forward position after 1 minute and fall back into the monastery." Despite their disciplined resistance and strategic defensive formation, the overwhelming numerical disadvantage forced the clone troopers to retreat. Vol 2, Chapter 6 or 2, Rescue Operation. The sudden counterattack by the robot army took everyone by surprise, including Anakin Skywalker, who was already on edge due to Ghidorah's arrogance. "Robots, where did they come from?" he wondered aloud. Ghidorah, not entirely lacking in intelligence, quickly pieced together the events of her kidnapping. In a panic, she clutched at Anakin's sleeve, pleading, "You're here to save me. You must be. I can't die. If I die, the Hutts will seek vengeance. You must get me out of here." Anakin, repulsed, shook off Ghidorah's hand, saying firmly, "Don't bother me. I'll get you out." It was then he sensed a presence and turned towards the monastery, calling out, "Show yourself. The stench of your dark side has been evident from the start." A sinister laugh broke the silence as a dark figure emerged from the shadows. "Young Skywalker, why would you kill a Hutt, especially a powerful one like Ghidorah? Do you realize your actions could spark a war between the Hutts and the Republic?" The figure was none other than Asajj Ventress, Count Dooku's new apprentice, her voice dripping with malice. Ghidorah, sensing the danger, quickly distanced herself from Anakin. "No, this is all a separatist plot, but your plans will fail. I will save Ghidorah," Anakin declared with righteous indignation. "We shall see, young Skywalker," Ventress taunted, discarding her cloak to reveal a black bodysuit. She drew 2 curved lightsabers from her belt, igniting them to reveal their blood-red blades, which cast an ominous glow on her grim features. "The chemical weapons on Omar Dune failed to kill you. This time, you won't escape. Your life will pay for the sins of the Hutts." With that, she attacked, her lightsabers slicing through the air. Anakin, having recently clashed with Ventress on Omar Dune, knew she was a formidable opponent. He cautiously engaged her, positioning Ghidorah's bulky form behind him for protection. Suddenly, a hidden drone in midair exploded, startling Ventress. She had placed it there to record the confrontation and fabricate evidence against the Jedi Order. The drone's destruction meant their plan had been anticipated and countered. How could they have found it? It was invisible, she thought, realizing their scheme had been exposed. Anakin, focused on the duel, didn't grasp the significance of the drone's destruction. He relentlessly attacked Ventress, who, in turn, became increasingly aggressive. Utilizing her agility, she aimed several deadly strikes at Ghidorah, exploiting the Hutt's cumbersome size as a vulnerability. Anakin found himself under immense pressure, as Ventress seemed determined to kill Ghidorah, even at the cost of her own injury. Anakin had several opportunities to defeat Ventress, but hesitated each time, knowing that any attempt to strike her down would also endanger Ghidorah. He was forced to retract his lightsaber repeatedly to defend Ghidorah from Ventress's lethal attacks. The sound of gunfire outside the monastery intensified, signaling the robot army's escalating assault. Anakin, caught in a desperate struggle with Ventress and concerned for Ghidorah's safety, felt the situation was dire. In that moment of desperation, Anakin recalled a cryptic communication he had received earlier, mentioning the Angel of Death. Suddenly, a laser beam shot from a distance, aimed directly at Ventress. She sensed it at the last moment and narrowly avoided being hit. Had she been even slightly slower, the beam would have pierced through her. Ventress, caught in a relentless duel with Anakin, found herself under fire once more. Each time she attempted to charge at Ghidorah, a sniper's laser forced her back into direct confrontation with Anakin. Frustrated, she cursed, "Sniper! Bastard!" The sniper's precision was remarkable, managing to find opportunities in the chaotic battle involving her, Anakin, and Ghidorah. Anakin Skywalker also quickly realized that an unseen ally was assisting him. However, the situation didn't allow him any relief. The clone troopers on the outskirts were on the verge of being overwhelmed by the droid army and pushed back into the monastery. In a strategic retreat, Ventress feigned an attack on Ghidorah before turning to flee. Despite the sniper's attempts to target her, she evaded the shots with her force sensing and escaped through a secret passage to regroup with the droid army. Meanwhile, the Vulture droid fighters bombarding from the sky were suddenly taken down by lasers from an unexpected source. A spaceship, having deactivated its cloaking device, made a beeline towards the battlefield. The ship, over 60 meters in length, featured a slender body with ring-like wings on either side, presenting a unique silhouette. Equipped with only 2 sets of laser cannons, it nonetheless demonstrated formidable efficiency, swiftly destroying more than a dozen Vulture droids with precise shots. On another front, the Special Operations Team, observing the spaceship's intervention, sprang into action. Shi-Aimon, their leader, signaled, "Come with me." With that command, he brandished a shield and charged forward. The shield, emblazoned with a C and crafted from frick metal, was capable of withstanding even a lightsaber's cut. This rare material, procured by Through Thornhill, chairman of the Interstellar Banking Association, was invaluable. As they advanced, the droid army detected their movement and unleashed a barrage of blaster fire. Shi-Aimon, fully protected by his shield, retaliated with precise sniper shots, taking down several droids. The 21 soldiers of the 4th Legion, clad in heavy Liberator combat armor, quickly formed into 3-person teams, flanking Shi-Aimon and providing additional cover. This coordinated assault, bolstered by the unexpected support from the spaceship, turned the tide of the battle, showcasing the resilience and strategic acumen of the Allied forces against the droid onslaught.